Morning starts at 7 a.m. Sudden force tears through the silence, shaking everything loose. Breath catches in the throat, sharp and uneven, as fear presses in from all sides. A heavy foot crashes down, breaking the shallow water with a sharp slap. Rain hammers down as he keeps running, every step fighting the cold and the distance. A harsh command echoes, 12 o'clock, 500 head strikes, no hesitation. 5 p.m. everything else stops, and the test truly begins. A foot slams down, sweat flying as he forces his body to keep moving. His arms tremble as he fights to lift the barbell, breath catching in his throat. He opens a small paper envelope, hands steady despite the weight of routine pressing down. He slams the resignation letter onto the table, voice steady, as the other man freezes in shock. Someone once asked me something I can't forget. He grips the machine, muscles straining as he forces out another rep, breath harsh in the silence. Doubt creeps in, pressing down until he wonders if losing his mind would have been easier. A cold beam of light hits his eye as he stares ahead, breath held tight. He looks up and sees the countdown burning overhead, every second dragging him closer to the end. He wipes sweat from his jaw, whispering to himself that the world is ending soon, and lets the words hang in the silence. Numbers flicker in the gloom, counting down faster than he can breathe. 2 seconds left, no time to run, no chance to fight back, just the end rushing in. 0 blinks on the timer, and all hope vanishes with the last second. A sudden blast rips through the darkness, swallowing everything without warning. Time hits 0, nothing left to save, nothing left to do. Numbers fall in silence, counting down to something unseen, and no one can stop them. No warning comes, just a name branded across the silence, sealing what's lost and marking what's next. 15 days before everything falls apart, the story rewinds. Phones vibrate in every pocket, blaring the same emergency. Monsters have appeared and no place is safe. Confused faces scan the alerts, hoping for a mistake, but the warnings keep coming, city after city, no pause, no relief. Someone laughs it off as a prank. But the fear in the room spreads faster than doubt, heavy and unfair. Parents grip their children close, eyes glued to screens, realizing that survival now depends on running before it's too late. With every new alert, isolation grows. No hero in sight. Only ordinary people caught off guard as disaster closes in. News blares across every channel. Monsters are real, and nowhere is safe anymore. Something moves in the mist, too large and heavy for the forest to hide. A blond young man freezes, eyes wide as the monster steps into view. Every breath thick with fear, mocking voices break the shock. Someone scoffs, refusing to believe what's right in front of them. Dismissal hangs in the air, but the monster doesn't stop, its presence making every excuse sound small. Isolation sharpens as no one steps forward, and the gap between belief and danger grows wider. The monster turns away, uninterested in their panic, leaving the young man alone with terror and doubt. He wakes up alone in bright light, confusion tightening his voice. I am alive. What happened? He watches the creature's back, breath caught, thinking he could risk moving closer. Sudden words cut through the silence. Someone whispers, behind you. His phone vibrates, filling the screen with frantic warnings. Behind you, each message more desperate than the last. Someone off-panel scoffs, refusing to believe what's happening, clinging to the idea that this is just a joke. He turns, frozen by a deep growl as a monstrous force towers behind him. A scream rips through the silence and he jolts, heart pounding as fear takes hold. He stares at his phone, startled by how real the video looks. Phone vibrates again. Another disaster alert flashes on the screen. Checks the screen, worry tightening his grip as another alert appears. Shaking his head, reads a new message, doubt pushing away his fear. His voice cuts through the tension as he points out how fake videos keep spreading lately. lowers his gaze, worry building as silent doubts take over. Chains rattle as the girl recoils, fear rising when the man steps closer. Panic hits as someone realizes a monster shouldn't be here. Pain explodes through her leg as metal bites in, and she cries out, clawing at the trap that refuses to open. The monster snarls, hungry and close, but the young man forces a shaky calm, whispering to himself about escape. Tears slip down the elderly elf's face as they tremble, unable to speak above a broken whisper. A strange feeling settles as the question forms, does it want my help? Fear spikes through him as the golden light grows, but even the creature's plea can't hide just how dangerous it feels. Lines blur for a moment as fear presses in, but one truth cuts through. I'm a human, that's a monster. Tears slip down, shining in the eye as fear and helplessness close in, leaving no room for hope. Resolve hardens in his eyes as he rejects any hint of pity, knowing kindness leads only to danger. Pain cuts through, sharp and sudden, forcing his eyes shut as he clenches his jaw to keep from crying out. Light floods his senses, blank and overwhelming, forcing everything else to disappear. He forces his gaze steady, pushing down fear as his eyes narrow with quiet resolve. No one saves a monster, no matter how desperate its eyes beg for mercy. 3 small elves freeze time in a photograph, smiles wide and arms linked in a rare moment of peace. A giant hand hovers over their memory, ready to claim or erase it without warning. He speaks, voice tight, reminding himself he has a family waiting for him far away. Her hands tremble as she clings to the photo, cloth pressed hard against her tears. Shock rips through him as something unseen shatters the calm, leaving him exposed and powerless. He freezes, eyes wide, as the weight of what just happened crashes down on him. Fingers curl around the silver goblin's pill, its light flickering in the shadows. He stares at the gift in his hand as his mind races with doubt, confusion lingering, because he helped a monster and received a reward. Yet trust feels impossible, and no matter how grateful the creature looks, the gap between them remains, leaving him standing there isolated and unsure whether this kindness is shelter or a new threat waiting to unfold. After a long pause, curiosity overcomes him, and he hesitates before touching the silver goblin's pill, a sharp light flaring from his palm. A glowing screen unfolds in the air, full of unknown words and shifting numbers. He leans closer, suspicion tightening his voice as he questions if this is real or just another trick. No answers come, only cold data floating inches from his face, daring him to risk more. He turns the pill in his palm, voice low and wary, refusing to trust what looks like a trap, when a sudden burst of news interrupts, blaring warnings that cut through his thoughts and make the room feel smaller. Every word from the screen pulling his focus away from the pill as danger presses closer and louder, leaving him frozen, caught between the silent dare of the goblin's gift and the world's fresh panic just outside. Unknown buildings have appeared everywhere, the boy reports, voice steady but eyes sharp. He studies the new skyline, noticing how these buildings rise like towers, cold and out of place. A coin turns between anxious fingers as the TV screen shows a tower ripping through concrete, bigger than any building. News anchors struggling to keep calm while announcing that the world is stunned and helpless. Reports confirming the U.S. Army went in first with all contact now lost and nothing but silence from inside. Fear settling heavy and unfair in the room as everyone realizes no one is coming back out, and tension thickening as those on the outside can only watch, powerless, while the tower waits. Monsters gather in the distance, their shapes shifting behind the glare in his eye as he sees the towers beside them. Unnatural, rising, daring anyone to come closer. A cold certainty settling inside him that these things do not belong and nothing here can stop them, while everyone else looks away but he keeps watching, already left behind by the world's fear. Silence follows, broken only by a single question: has the apocalypse really started? Cracks spread across the glass as he hesitates, clutching the ball, unsure who or what left it broken. A sudden heat rushes at his back as an explosion tears through the room, forcing him to hurl himself forward barely ahead of the blast, lungs burning from the shock, with no warning and no chance to prepare. Just raw force trying to wipe him out, everything around him falling apart while he keeps moving, always just out of reach. Shock freezes him as the blast's force slams into his senses, stealing any hope of safety. Screams rip through the chaos as he sprints, debris crashing down around him, someone stumbling beside him with panic twisting every step. But there's no time, only the instinct to run. He shouts into his phone, voice tight, and points straight ahead through the dust. Steel groans as a sudden, brutal force flips the car into broken concrete. Now, the leaning tower buckles as rubble lifts and hangs in the air, pulled by something no one can see. Without warning, the city erupts in a blinding explosion that tears through everything, leaving no escape. From the ruins, a mystical tower rises, casting an unnatural glow that swallows the city below. Smoke coils through the wreckage, swallowing the last of the city's defenses. As panic spreads, news breaks of another tower tearing through the night sky in Korea. Bare feet press against cold concrete as he faces the tower's glow, standing alone with every instinct screaming that what waits inside is beyond him, the world below shrinking as the tower's shadow stretches over everything he knows, and though no one believes he'll survive the climb, he moves anyway, one step closer. A fist crashes down, shaking the ground and sending dust flying, power surging through the air, raw, unfair, impossible to answer. Everyone else hesitating while he stands alone in the shockwave, untouched and unnoticed. No voice calling his name as the world waits, daring him to move forward. A strange icon pulses before him, flashing a name he's never seen, Silver Goblin's Pill, words filling the air and promising a power he can't even understand, something hidden just beyond reach, temptation lingering sharp and heavy as the system dares him to consume what no one else would touch, and he hesitates for half a breath, knowing this choice could end him, or make him something new, with no advice or helping hand offered, just silence and a chance that feels impossibly dangerous. Doubt coils in his chest, as he wonders if this choice will save him or destroy everything. He grips the glowing capsule, steady hands betraying nothing as he brings it to his lips, takes one breath, and swallows, crossing a line no one else dared approach. No one else would ever risk this, but he chooses madness over waiting to die. Something stirs deep inside as a sudden burst of pink energy explodes upward, flooding the room with unnatural light. Light slams down from above, raw and merciless, trapping him in its grip as he stares up, frozen, the power surging closer, too vast, too sudden, with nothing left to shield him. Blue eyes snap wide as raw energy crackles through him, searing and uncontrollable. A cold shimmer floods his vision as something clicks deep inside, blue light burning through his sight before a screen appears with unfamiliar words and impossible power, and he stands alone, staring at the new status window as the weight of it settles fast. No one else sees, no one else matters, everything changing while the world stays silent, waiting for what he'll do next. A new line of text fills the glowing window, promising survival only if he follows its guide. Sudden blue energy bursts outward, ripping through silence and sending fragments everywhere. He steps onto the balcony, drawn by a pull he can't ignore, the blue cube above him crackling and humming, flooding everything with harsh electric light. No one else here to see the sky split open, only him, powerless against the impossible energy swelling and pressing down, making it clear who holds control and who only watches, and he doesn't move, trapped between fear and awe, knowing nothing will be the same after this. His hand lifts, calling a glowing book that snaps into existence, crackling with blue energy. Fingers tighten around the glowing book as its power pulses, cold and alive. His hand moves toward the cracked mirror, drawn by something he can't name, light leaking from the fractures, sharp and dangerous, warning him to stop, fingers hesitating but curiosity overruling caution as he touches the glass, power surging out sudden and unfair, swallowing his hand in cold light. No one here to help as the mirror's pull grows stronger, isolating him even more. Blue energy bursts out, shattering the silence and locking him in its grip, standing alone and overwhelmed by power too strong to control as everyone else fades from reach. Hands push the cover open, blue light spreading over the page, words shifting and trembling under his fingers as power awakens inside the book. No one stopping him. Unseen and alone with something no one else dared touch, energy building and pressure mounting as the book fights back without mercy, and he clings on, outmatched and ignored while the world outside stays blind to what's coming. Pages rip free from the glowing book, rising fast as blue light spills everywhere, unwritten words scattering upward, pulsing with power no one else can claim, each page tearing itself loose and ignoring him, swept into a storm of magic he can't stop. No help coming. He stands alone, overwhelmed as the book empties itself in a rush, leaving nothing behind but silence, energy lingering in the air, cold and unfair, promising consequences that only he will face. A digital screen lights up, its message sharp and cold, time ticking down. 15 days, 4 hours. Until everything ends, no warning, just a list. Grow stronger, run faster, learn to fight. Preparation no longer a choice as survival now has rules, and he stands alone, facing a countdown no one else sees while the world already slips away. Silence fills the emptiness, cold pressing in from every side. He shuts out the world, locking himself into the routine the guide demands. 15 days vanishing as he pushes through pain, each hour spent breaking himself down just to stand a chance. But nothing ever goes as planned. Something's wrong. He feels it before anything happens, sweat beating as his nerves tighten. A sharp light splits the silence as the door of the end cracks open beneath him. He stands frozen as the message fills the air. The door of the end has opened. He steps into the new world, expectation fading as quiet reality settles around him. Fingers trembling, he calls up the system, and the words blunt sword flicker coldly in front of him. A sharp voice cuts through the silence, questioning the sword in his hand as digital text flashes across his vision, the game beginning without warning and rules shifting beneath his feet before he can react. Tutorial screens flicker to life, cutting through the silence with sharp blue light, the system's voice ringing out cold and final to announce the test is done. Analysis moving fast and weighing numbers, stripping him down to data, no choice given as his class drops like a verdict. Combat swordsman, standing alone while the world accepts the system's judgment, others unseen and silent, no applause, no welcome, just the next command waiting, already pulling him forward. Shock hits him before he can breathe. Shock freezes him, cutting through every thought. A new prompt cuts through the numb silence. Open the status window for more details. Screens flood his vision, each demanding his attention at once, every line of text piling up and pressing him down with raw information, and he grits his teeth, but the flow never stops. No time to process, no mercy to rest. Grips the glowing sword, its weight both promise and threat as his stats flicker into view. Steadies his grip on the sword, tension flickering across his face as he forces a smile. A cold message cuts in. Survive here for 60 minutes or find the hidden exit. Time starts, and every second feels like a trap closing around him. Rules say this is a tutorial, but nothing here feels safe or slow. A cold system message appears, promising the highest chance of survival if he follows its guide. A glowing status window takes control, offering guidance with the promise of survival, nothing else. A digital guidebook flickers to life, commanding him to spend every minute hunting monsters, ignoring the second objective meaning, risking his own growth with no hesitation allowed. the pressure tightening as survival reduces to numbers and rules, each second slipping away. No help, no shortcuts. Just him, the monsters, and a brutal countdown he can't escape. He checks the sage's status window, realizing its advice was never random. Every step and command from the system pushing him here, trapping him in a game only he must survive. He grips the guide's warning. Survival means hunting monsters, not fleeing the forest. Branches sway above, sunlight barely filtering through thick leaves as time presses in from every side. Sword raised, he steps toward the armored figure as the forest holds its breath, the gap between them stretching. One side heavy with power, the other clinging to hope, the tutorial beginning with no hint of mercy waiting here. Branches twist overhead, shadows gathering as the last light fades. Something shifts. His gaze snaps to the small creature watching from the shadows. A jagged scream cuts through the dark as someone finally sees the monster. But instead of a monster, a tiny raccoon steps out, one sharp horn jutting from its head. The fox-like beast snarls, claws flashing as sudden fury fills the air. Claws tear forward as the horned animal leaps straight for the blue-haired man. Fabric tears in the scramble, tension crackling as survival hangs on a thread. Steel flashes as the young man swings hard, sending the horned creature flying with a single blow. A cold message flashes as the system recognizes his kill. The young man lowers his sword, watching the small beast fall without resistance, glancing at the faint blue spirit and realizing just how weak his enemy was, doubt flickering in his eyes. Maybe this is only a tutorial and real danger waits ahead, standing alone with power barely tested, knowing someone like him isn't meant to be noticed. And without a word, he steps forward, ready for whatever comes next. A silent prompt appears, reminding him that basic swordsmanship drains 2 MP each time. Sweat slips down his cheek as a chill runs through him. 10 magic points, enough for only 5 swings if he's careful. He counts each move in his mind, already feeling the weight of every limit. He slashes through the shadows, each swing measured to save every last bit of power. Steel flashes as he swings, cutting straight into the small animal without hesitation. Pain rips through the creature as it screams, light bursting from its horn. Light floods the sky as a giant, glowing bird bursts into existence above him. A sharp chime cuts through the chaos, cold system messages overriding the pain, level 2 flashing on the screen as strength fills his empty limbs, all wounds fading and magic returning while the world stays just as dangerous. 2 small points appearing, barely enough to matter but everything to him now, and he must choose quickly as the next threat is already watching. Level up notification hangs in the air, cutting through his panic. He grips his sword, feeling mana slowly refill with each breath, relief flashing across his face, but the points offered so few. Just enough to survive. He hesitates for a split second, knowing any mistake means death, as something stirs in the shadows, already sensing weakness behind his smile. A pink glow pulses at his feet, stopping him cold, his eyes widening as all tension snaps back, instinct screaming that something below is waking up, and he freezes, too slow to move as the light grows stronger, danger pressing in, sudden and unfair, swallowing his surprise. System message fills his vision, promising points for every level gained, each point feeling precious. Just 2, barely enough to change anything, and he stares at the stats, pulse racing, forced to gamble on survival before the next danger strikes. Suddenly, the system rips everything away. His level drops to 1 with no warning. System text carves itself into his vision, cold and heavy, knowledge granting him the sage's status, but every step forward slowing, the weight pressing down and progress slipping farther out of reach, leveling up demanding more from him than anyone else, no shortcuts, no sympathy, just the burden and eyes watching for him to fail, standing alone, forced to carry what others never see as the world moves ahead. A new message flashes. Sage's status means every level comes slower than the rest, shock hitting him hard as he realizes he's already left behind. No way to catch up when the world rewards speed and he's forced to crawl. Others rising while he's marked to struggle alone, every step costing more. The system uncaring and even his hope feeling like a trap, and he clenches his fists. If he stops, he's finished. No time to complain as survival demands he move, right now. A penalty strikes for holding the sage's status window, his mind reeling as what he thought was power only drags him down. No reward offered, only a heavier chain tightening with each choice. Everyone else surging ahead while he alone pays the hidden cost. No warning, no escape. The system punishing him just for trying. He stares at his falling level, anger burning as hope slips away, small versions of himself arguing, one proud, another anxious, both outpacing him. While he shouts inside for a chance to catch up, but the system only closes in, and he grits his teeth surrounded by rising numbers that never belong to him, every gain snatched away faster than he can reach it, leaving him stranded and alone as no one notices his struggle. Only the cruel gap that keeps growing, yet he knows he can't stop now. When survival means fighting for every single level. He slams his hand forward, desperate for the status window to answer, frustration crackling in the air as each command feels heavier and slower, like the system itself is mocking him. No comfort coming as the handicap holds tight and forces him to fight for even the simplest response, leaving him surrounded by silence, waiting alone against a world that refuses to give an inch. A sudden alert flashes, his head jerks up, startled. Blinks as the status window flickers open, confusion sharpening while his eyes dart over the numbers, and something feels off in a way he can't name. Stats glimmering just out of reach as the system's choices mock his effort, and he hesitates as the gap widens, alone with numbers that never add up, uncertainty settling in because every point matters now and the margin for error disappears. Panic spikes as he sees 2 points left. Impossible, the numbers never work in his favor. If what I'm thinking is correct, everything so far has been a setup. This isn't a penalty, stares at the glowing stats, realizing the system is holding back on purpose. Something ancient stirs above his head. An orange symbol flickers to life, burning against the darkness. Studies the shifting numbers, a trace of sweat on his cheek as the system's judgment hangs above him. His mind races as he grasps the truth. The system might be hiding an overpowered, bug-like ability. Silence falls, pressing in as the system's power settles over everything. Silence stretches, the world holding its breath as the title appears. Pain strikes fast as a sharp object hits the small bird, its scream cutting through the silence. He grips the sword, refusing to look away from the sky above. Muscles tense as his hand clamps down on the sword, ready for anything that comes next. Steel flashes as he brings the sword down, cutting deep into the beast's hide. A cold message appears as the system grants him experience. A surge runs through him as the system's voice echoes. He's reached level 2. A sharp digital chime cuts through as his new level flashes. Lee, level 1. Forces a shaky smile as his name flickers on the glowing screen before him. Numbers and stats fill the air, spelling out his weakness in cold, glowing lines. Stays on the ground, eyes locked on his status window as the new reality sets in. Each time progress comes, the next step demands even more from me. Stands over the fallen creature, sword in hand and eyes fixed on the glowing screen, realizing it's faster to raise his stats this way as he pushes aside the normal path and chooses to take the risk. Studies the glowing stat window, weighing his next move as 4 choices appear before him. Strength and agility seem like the only real options if I want to survive this fight. Strength means faster, harder hits while agility brings speed and sharper reflexes, and swings the glowing sword straight at the shadowy figure. His attack moving first but the opponent not even flinching, the gap in power hitting him cold and sudden and impossible to ignore as his resolve hardens while he braces for what comes next. Fingers hover over the stat menu as tension presses in with every second. He ignores strength and sensitivity with eyes narrowing on agility, choosing speed over power because it's the only way out right now, and with one touch agility rises, hope flickers, but survival still holds no promise. Suddenly, the system forces sensitivity up by 4, ignoring his choice. A sharp sound rips through the forest, forcing his breath to catch. Victory message flashes as the one-horned raccoon drops, lifeless and small. Gripping the hammer tight, remembers how easily the one-horned raccoon fell. A cold tutorial voice orders him to use every minute to kill as many monsters as he can, and scans the shadows, tense, knowing the real challenge is finding enough one-horned raccoons before time runs out. Lifts his glowing hand, feeling the new surge from his higher sensitivity stat. Pauses, noticing a faint current in the air, chi, just within reach at sensitivity 20. Red energy bursts into view, catching off guard. Red flashes across the darkness as a system message cuts through. Every monster is gone, but something hidden now stirs. Without warning, a blazing fox spirit leaps from the shadows, its power raw and overwhelming. Steadies himself, hand reaching toward the fading sun, searching for hope no one else believes he deserves. A guttural snarl cuts through the silence as the one-horned raccoon alpha steps forward, radiating menace. A scream breaks out as someone realizes this monster is nothing they've seen before. Suddenly, a massive clawed foot slams down, shaking the ground and crushing any hope of escape. Without warning, a huge bird dives straight at the man with the sword. Fire bursts through the air, wiping out everything in its path. Smoke erupts as the young man dives forward, barely dodging the blast with his dagger clenched tight. Clashing steel rings out as the boy in red surges forward, driving his opponent back with raw force. Breath ragged, he digs in, sword drawn, tracking the monster's charge. Without warning, the boss slams its horn into the stone, shaking the ground and flooding the cavern with raw power. Crouches low, forcing himself to steady his breath as the alpha lunges straight for him. Freezes, eyes narrowing as he senses something off about this beast. Suddenly, the fox-like creature leaps with burning eyes and savage force, closing the distance in an instant. His eyes lock on, refusing to flinch as danger bears down, every thought sharpening to a single point. Lunges forward, cutting through the fox's wild charge with a single, desperate swing of his glowing blade. His blade meets resistance, but he pushes through with raw will, refusing to let fear slow him. Steel finally bites through, and everything stops as the system declares, "You have defeated the boss, one-horned raccoon alpha." A system message flashes above announcing he has cleared the hidden quest and earned gold, but there are no cheers or allies, only his ragged breath as the world ignores his victory, and he stands alone knowing the reward changes nothing for anyone but himself. Exhales with his sword steady as he stands over the fallen, his voice quietly cutting through the silence as he admits he's actually level 7, but no one else hears and the forest remains indifferent, his strength hidden until now as he waits for the next challenge to find him. Something innocent lies broken on the ground, its eyes empty and slashed through. A cold system message fills the air announcing the tutorial is complete, but there is no applause or warmth, only empty silence pressing in as looks up, alone again, while the world moves forward without him. Time drags on, each second stretching as clenches his fist in silence. His voice breaks the silence, shaky and forced, trying to end what no one else will. His question hangs in the air, his voice small and uncertain. Something shifts off-screen, and jerks forward caught off guard. No one moves as the group faces a red glow pulsing with strange symbols. Without warning, she blinks and everything changes. Red light, new ground, no time to react. Blood stains the web, fresh and glimmering, warning of something waiting just ahead. Above the silence, a machine drifts into view, casting a cold shadow that swallows all hope. She stands at the edge of emptiness, facing a dungeon that offers no promise of escape. A cold announcement cuts through the air, declaring the tutorial over and naming the area the C-2567 region, everyone freezing, caught off guard by the system's voice, as each one realizes that survival here is only just beginning. Confusion flickers in his eyes as he tries to make sense of the word, tension pressing in from all sides. He scans the room, counting strangers, 14 men, 11 women, each face tight with fear. One woman's voice cracking as she begs to go home, but no one answers and the silence grows heavier. Doubt spreading as everyone realizes they've been thrown into a new place far from safety. His eyes narrowing while the others cling to panic, but he stands apart, already searching for a way out. Chaos spreads as sharp voices rise and nerves snap, and he senses panic growing, questions pounding in his head with no answers. Someone screams for his mom, clutching a phone like it can pull him back home, but no one answers, just shouts and crying as fear grips the room, and he stands in the middle, sword ready, while the others crouch or cover their ears. Everyone else clinging to panic, but he stays silent, cold and apart, even here alone, surrounded. Yet no one dares to look his way. The world changed overnight and power deciding who survives. If I hadn't known the world was ending, my hands would be shaking just like theirs. He shuts out the panic and tightens his fist, forcing his fear down, her voice trembling behind him, but he keeps his eyes forward, blocking out doubt, a promise forming in his mind that he will survive even if no one believes it. A woman's voice cuts through the silence, asking where she is, fear in her eyes, but no answer comes from the shadows. Only a chill as the words "Tower of the End" hang in the air. Everyone sensing the shift, yet no one stepping forward as the power here feels absolute. She's standing frozen and realizing how small she is, while the figure behind her does not move or speak. In this place, questions bringing no comfort, only the reminder that survival is never fair. Confusion cracks the silence as someone speaks up, breaking the tension without warning. She flinches, breath caught, realizing too late that something has changed. A rabbit in a tuxedo steps forward, raising his hand with a calm signal, both women freezing, caught off guard as tension spikes, shadowed figures staying back and watching without a word, no one daring to move as the rabbit's confidence makes them all feel weak. Greets everyone with a bright, practiced smile, announcing himself as the tower's lower floor manager. 3 men whirl around, voices sharp as they confront the rabbit-suit figure that appeared without warning, accusations flying and suspicion rising. But the rabbit stands silent and untouched by their panic, no one knowing who holds the real power, yet everyone feeling how far they are from it. Everyone waits for a threat that never comes, but the rabbit only sighs, unfazed by their fear. Silence fills the room as a single voice cuts through, calm, steady, impossible to ignore, every eye shifting, searching for the one who dares to speak first. Golden eyes flick upward as the white rabbit's ears twitch, catching something the others miss. No one moves as a quiet thought breaks through the tension. If this really is the end of the world, nothing else will matter. Uncertainty hangs heavy as the purple-haired young man finally asks, "Then, what are we supposed to do now?" A sharp gasp cuts through the silence as the rabbit jolts, shock freezing everyone in place. The rabbit snaps out of shock, grinning wide, as he jabs a finger at the young man. Now the rabbit turns to the crowd and speaks, its voice calm but cold, making every player feel small under its gaze. Suddenly, the creature's voice turns sharp, declaring a game where every life is at risk, confusion and fear rippling through the group as one stammers out a desperate question. No answer coming. Just silence pressing in, leaving them stranded between panic and disbelief. A sharp sound cuts through the tense silence, and the young man's eyes go wide. Every human stands trapped as the rabbit lifts the tower high above the world. No way out. Everyone inside, powerless beneath its grip, rules and mercy disappearing as survival now belongs only to the strongest. Now a cold command echoes. Everyone must work together for each mission to climb the tower. No one trusting the order but the threat behind it real and heavy, leaving no room for doubt, weakness showing in their eyes while the rules offer no sympathy, only progress or elimination. Hope flickers in his voice as he asks if reaching the top will let them return to normal life. A single word breaks through the silence, heavy and sharp, that. A white rabbit in a suit winks at everyone and shrugs, cheerfully admitting, "I also don't know." Confusion settles as the young man demands to know the point of climbing the tower, a suited rabbit tilting his head and brushing off the question with a careless grin. Two silent faces in the background tensing as they watch for answers that never come, doubt growing while the rabbit's playful tone only deepens the gap between them. No certainty or promise, just one more reason to feel alone here. A cold warning slips out as the rabbit-costumed figure tells them, only death awaits those who do not climb the tower. Every man in the room stiffening, trapped between fear and disbelief as the words hang in the air. No one daring to speak while the rabbit's confidence makes their doubts feel small and useless. Survival not a choice but a cruel demand echoing through the tower's shadows. Isolation closing in as each person realizes just how little power they have here. Climbing the only way forward, even if it means leaving someone behind. Someone falters, their steps stopping short on the cold floor. The rabbit's voice cuts through the silence, counting the dead without a hint of regret. Someone gasps, all certainty ripped away in a single, silent instant. A sharp question hits him. He never saw this weakness before. He knows this is only the tutorial, yet most people already failed to survive. A command cuts through the fear. Someone tells them to wait. A man steps forward, his smile sharp and wrong as the children shrink back beneath him. He tries to deny it, but shock freezes his words. Someone new steps in, voice light but control absolute. Silence tightens as a voice cuts through, daring anyone here to try and kill them. A masked figure steps into the spotlight, hands raised in sudden shock. He stares ahead, sweat beading as the words echo. He must die to return home, a promised reward hanging in the air and twisting hope into suspicion. Uncertainty surging as every instinct warns him this is a trap. No one answering while isolation presses in and danger grows close and real. A cheerful rabbit steps forward, level 55 badge shining as it calls for volunteers. No one moving, each person measuring the gap in strength and pretending not to notice. The thought settling inside that he may look harmless but facing him would mean certain defeat, hesitation thickening as the crowd grows smaller without moving an inch. Every second of waiting drawing a clearer line between hope and survival, and it becoming clear who stands alone. He tells himself to stay back and watch, trying not to draw attention, when suddenly a glowing message flashes in front of him, his eyes widening as the rules change without warning. A new mission appears, forcing him to help the lower floor manager get home. A fist tightens around cold steel as he steps forward, sweat running down his wrist, everyone's eyes flicking to the rabbit, LV. 55 KOMKO, standing firm, unbothered by the threat, nobody saying a word but the message clear. Only one side holds real power here, he hesitating as he feels the eyes on his back and the weight of the weapon in his hand, every heartbeat daring him to move while the gap between them presses down, silent and unfair, KOM waiting. Relaxed as if the outcome is already decided, and he braces himself, knowing this moment could end everything, or nothing at all. He draws his sword, doubt flickering, as he wonders if following orders will only make him a target. Doubt flashes across his face as he clenches his jaw, searching for any real options. He steps forward, voice steady, saying, "I'll do it," eyes narrowing from every side but nobody moving to help. The sword in his hand feeling heavier as silence settles, drawing the line between him and everyone else. KOOM simply nodding, amused and already holding the upper ground. He's standing alone, surrounded but completely on his own, locked in by judgment and risk. A cold voice cuts through the silence, promising death as punishment for defiance. The man's hand moves fast, reaching for the white rabbit before anyone can react, a sharp grin flickering across his face as the rabbit freezes, too surprised to move, the blue-haired boy stiffening with regret burning. He knows he's already too late, no one else stepping in as the bystanders just watch, anxious and powerless, status deciding everything here, and once again he stands alone against it. A red-haired man swings his weapon with a twisted grin, voice dripping with threat, laughing and already certain of victory, promising pain and no mercy. No one moving to stop him as the gap in power becomes clear. He is sure while everyone else hesitates, danger striking fast, leaving no room for regret or hope. A sharp scream rips through the air as the man flinches, cornered by the sudden attack, the rabbit in white laughing with blade swinging close, enjoying the fear he creates, the man barely managing to block with the table's edge but looking weak and desperate, power shifting instantly. He's outmatched and everyone watching knows it, no one stepping in as the rabbit's confidence grows, pushing him further into isolation, each second stretching with the threat never leaving, survival hanging by a thread. A single orange eye burns as the rabbit doll glares, silent and menacing, all sense of safety vanishing, the room feeling smaller and colder as everyone realizes this threat is real, no one daring to meet its gaze, the weight of danger settling and pressing down on the weakest first. A scream cuts through the silence, sharp and sudden, as fear finally breaks loose. The rabbit doll's single orange eye burns as a fist crashes into his face, snapping his head back before he can react, shock flashing in his eyes. He didn't see it coming and now he's wide open, power filling the air as the white-haired fighter stands over him, untouchable and cold, no one moving as the gap between them grows, leaving him alone on the floor, exposed. He drags in a sharp breath, forcing a crooked smile as his voice rings out, mocking, not afraid. A heavy fist slams into his chest, stealing the air from his lungs before he can brace. Blood sprays as a black slash tears through the air, missing him by inches, and he stumbles back, breath caught, eyes wide as the girl reaches for his arm. She freezes, hands tangled in her hair as black energy erupts behind her, shock pinning her in place. There's no warning, just raw power and fear closing in, no one moving to help as she stands alone, small against the surge, everything shifting as she realizes how quickly the ground can disappear. Something slips into view, dark purple ears twitch, playful and careless. His voice shakes, he says he counterattacked by accident. Silence breaks as the masked man clenches his fist, darkness coiling around him. No one dares to move as a silent figure watches from below, unreadable and waiting. Both men freeze, sweat running down their faces as they stare toward the threat just out of sight. No one speaks as tension presses down, each man searching for answers the others don't have. Sharp scream pierces the tense silence as the person in the white bunny mask steps forward over the fallen man, the sword-wielding young man tightening his grip and bracing as fear flickers in his eyes. Beside him the crouching woman flinching and covering her ears, too shaken to speak, no one moving as power shifts instantly, and the threat feels absolute. A body crashes down in front of them with a scream splitting the air, shock locking the three in place as they watch the figure fall, powerless to help, no one moving as fear settles deeper, and survival feeling thinner than before. Someone gasps out in panic, realizing a man just died right in front of them. Steel glints cold in the dark-haired man's grip as he steps forward, silent and steady. 3 men turning and bolting, their panic filling the air as they scramble to escape his reach. Silence hangs heavy as a single thought cuts through. What if it had been me? Shock freezes him as someone dares to speak up, voice trembling through the tension. Laughter breaks the tension as the rabbit-headed figure waves off their fear, voice calm but power humming just beneath. A digital message flashes, cold and sudden. Help the lower floor manager get home. Gloved fingers, stained with blood, reach out as the rabbit's voice cuts through the silence. Doubt creeps in as the words echo. Maybe the guide lied from the start. No one answers, but the white rabbit's bloody hand stretches forward, turning the invitation into a threat. Level 55 appears, KOM. 3 men freeze as the black-haired boy steps forward, fear tightening their faces. Trust breaks in an instant as he realizes the guide lied, confusion and fear crashing over him. Something shifts behind his stare as the status window bursts open, burning in his eye. Sage's status window flickers open, forcing every hidden stat into view, knowledge flooding in as a new rule appears. Leveling up will slow down from here. A guide's message waiting in the corner, silent and cold, choosing when to appear. He's standing alone, power clear but progress chained, watched by a system that never plays fair. Sage's eye triggers without warning, and a glowing window exposes someone else's secrets. Sage's eye flashes across the window, and he freezes, stunned by a new ability besides Sage's status. Questions crowding his mind as the power reveals itself without warning, breaking every rule he trusted. A rabbit-masked figure steps through a glowing portal, moving like they own the rules here, one hand gesturing for Sage to follow with confidence sharp and silent, nobody else moving. Only Sage feeling the weight of this invitation, alone and watched, one choice standing between safety and danger but the power gap clear. Sage is not welcome, the portal waiting cold and bright while time presses forward whether he is ready or not. A slow smirk spreads as realization clicks, sharp and silent. Tries to act playful, but a giant hand reaches in without warning. Lee lifts his hand in greeting, calm and sure. Someone in the back freezing as worry flickers while confidence fills the room. Every word the guide spoke turns out true. Title hangs above empty space, no comfort, no hint of safety. A rabbit in a coat sizes up Lee, voice loud enough to remind everyone he's only level 1. Level means nothing to someone who refuses to bow. Someone shouts, breaking the tension, energy rushes in, careless of who stands ready and who stands alone. Grips the hammer tight as the rabbit pleads to be sent home. Fear shakes her voice as she warns him, but he doesn't stop or look back. 5 voices clash in the gloom, shouting for him to stop, but none step forward to help. He tells her it's fine. He has a plan, steady and certain, her eyes widening, caught off guard, doubt flickering as his calm breaks the tension. He grips the sword hilt, steady and sure, as the room goes quiet. A cold laugh cuts through the silence as the rabbit lifts its blood-stained arms, smiling wider than before. Without warning, the rabbit lunges, fist swinging straight for his face. Speed blurs the edges as the rabbit's fist snaps forward, faster than he can react. Impact lands hard as the bloodied fist slams down, crushing any hope of blocking. He staggers back, pain burning, but his eyes lock forward, refusing to yield. Something feels off about what just said, and suspicion sharpens in the silence. Count stays clear in his mind. 25 bodies fill this space, no more, no less. Now the rules change. 24 players, 1 game lives on the line. His voice cuts through, insisting on 24. Doubt cuts in. Was it really just a simple mistake? Fear slams into us as the monster's eye glows, reminding everyone that one wrong move means death. His mistake wasn't a slip, it was a plan. The masked figure suddenly lunging forward, fist crashing out with brutal speed. No warning, no chance to react. Power slamming down merciless and absolute. Everyone flinching but no one daring to step in. Survival hanging on each word and each move. No one trusting the next moment. A scream rips through the room as panic takes hold. Everyone freezing, terror rising fast with no time to think. Eyes darting to the threat. No one feeling safe, no one knowing who's next. Muscles tense as the fighter swings his sword with all his strength, shadows shifting and moving fast, faster than any warning, steel cutting only air and missing the true target by a breath. A split second exposing the power gap, one side desperate, the other untouched. No one stepping in as the fight is already unfair, survival now meaning enduring the next blow. Silence shatters as the bloodied cat leans in, voice low and dangerous, yellow eyes gleaming and holding every gaze captive, no one looking away. A cruel grin spreading as the cat finally speaks, revealing the reason behind the chaos. No one breathing, knowing the answer changes everything as alliances crack and fear deepens. Instinct screaming to run but the cat's power holding everyone in place, forcing the next move. Blue energy carves through the chaos, striking hard without warning. Before the light-clothed fighter can react, a dark figure bursts forward with sudden force. Speed and intent collide in the blur as the attack lands, leaving no room for defense. Hands clasped tight, the young man slams down with a surge of blue energy. Movement blurs as the dark-haired figure surges in, too fast to track. A sudden spark flickers in the purple-haired character's eye, sharp and alive. Only 24 people stand inside, each one watched and counted. A blue hologram flickers on the ground, left behind by cold, unexplained and ignored by everyone else. This damaged hologram stares at Lee, voice sharp with surprise. Only a hologram, vanishes the instant real harm touches him. A sudden blue light flares beside the running man, sharp and impossible to ignore. A glowing bird appearing with a voice calm but heavy, promising odds only for those who dare to keep moving. He not slowing down while the gap between him and everyone else grows colder. He stops without turning, and blue dragon energy coils at his side, silent and alive. He jolts, eyes darting to the side as something shifts just out of view. He lets out a shaky breath, relief flickering through his guard for just a moment. A glowing blue sphere strikes the ground, sending a sharp jolt through the silence. No one moves as the orb hovers, numbers pulsing, one stat point hanging in the air like bait. Fingers stretch out and brush the blue orb, breaking the tension. Shock cuts through the moment as the red-haired man's voice cracks, demanding how Lee knew, staying silent and clutching the blue object, eyes steady despite the suspicion aimed at him. The woman shifting nervously behind them, realizing trust can shatter in one question. Blood moves straight through, but her skin and clothes stay clean. Keeps his grip on the glowing orb, mind racing for an excuse as doubt grows around him, remembering why this all felt fake, and deciding it's safer to play along than reveal what he knows. The woman catching his hesitation, her surprise shifting to silent calculation as she waits for his next move. The red-haired challenger steps forward, voice sharp, calling out that doesn't deserve the shining blue item in his hand, his fingers tightening around it, silent and tense as the threat hangs, unspoken but real. Leans in, his voice cold as he calls out, "Anyways, you just got lucky," confidence ringing out while the room grows tense. Nobody stepping up to defend the target, standing alone, eyes steady, feeling every gaze pressed down with doubt and challenge. His words hanging in the air, daring anyone to try and earn respect by force. The threat lingering, heavy and unfair. No one moving as the gap in power couldn't be clearer, his pulse quickening while waiting for the next attack. Knowing survival means never showing fear. Red-haired man thrusts his finger forward. his anger breaking the uneasy silence as he claims he would acted if he'd noticed. Someone interrupts, voice sharp, "What do you mean it'll be a waste?" cracking the tension, eyes turning as old threats refuse to fade. The red-haired man sneers, calling out for staying at level 1 while everyone else has moved on, insults cutting through the crowd and making silence feel smaller and more exposed, no one stepping in as the room waits, expecting him to break or run, tightening his grip on the sword but never lowering his gaze, every eye measuring him. Unproven, alone, and easy to dismiss. Another taunt landing and the threat of violence sharpening between them, standing firm, knowing one mistake means being crushed. An offer comes, cold and final. Yield now and die quickly for the sake of everyone else. Clenching his fist, sweat gathering as he hears the arrogance behind those words, meeting the challenger's eyes with disbelief mixing with the urge to fight back. No one expecting him to answer. He stands alone, weighed down by every silent judgment, yet something in him refusing to yield even as the threat presses closer. A glowing fist crashes forward, raw power, impossible to block, the red-haired man recoiling with surprise as pain explodes through him, a system message appearing. 1 stat point gained, unfair, sudden like a slap he's spitting out. Yielding isn't a hobby of mine, voice shaking but stubborn. No one stepping in as he stands out, wounded but refusing to fall back, eyes around him hardening, measuring the gap and knowing survival means more risk ahead. Mocking laughter cuts through the air as the red-haired man leans in, voice sharp, "Wow, for a bottom feeder, you're quite greedy." His words hanging heavy, daring to flinch or answer. The crowd around them shifting, already deciding who should lose, staring back, jaw tight, refusing to shrink even as scorn builds. No one expecting him to last. He stands isolated, the target set. Mockery shifts to accusation as the blue-haired man leans in, demanding, "Are you trying to save face because of your level?" Stays silent, surrounded by doubt, eyes fixed ahead as the challenge tightens, no one offering help, his weakness already decided, the next move not his to make. Speaking from experience, the only smart move is to stay away from someone like him. Keeps his gaze steady, doubt swirling behind his eyes. Without warning, a distorted voice breaks through the tension. New rules are forced on everyone. A sudden shock freezes everyone as 3 pairs of eyes shoot upward at the impossible threat. Gold becomes a measure of survival now, handed out for every monster killed in the tutorial, rules shifting without warning. Only those who hunt enough get a chance to move forward, the red-haired man's words cutting through, telling him to count himself lucky. Almost like a warning, not a gift. He keeping silent, knowing luck here is just another trap. Now, someone announces that the highest starting gold in this zone is 7,400, voices rising in disbelief as tension crackles between the group. One player blurting out the number, eyes wide and scanning the others for answers. Another unable to hide her shock, struggling to believe any of them could hold that much power, silent glances passing as everyone tries to guess who's the target now. No one feeling safe, the gap between them just getting wider. Clenches his fist, voice shaking with anger at his low gold count, beside him staying calm, quietly admiring whoever managed to come out on top, their frustration and awe only making the gap between them and the true power clearer. No one here knowing how far behind they've already fallen but feeling it pressing down, every second in this place survival slipping further from their grasp. Coins crash to the ground, echoing as the number 7,400 lights up for everyone to see, a hush spreading, no one expecting the difference to be this big, jealousy and fear rippling through the group as each person realizes how small they are in this fight, everyone's eyes darting, searching for the owner of that impossible number, but no one stepping forward, unease growing as power draws a line they can't cross. Grips his sword, standing alone while the others search for answers, knowing he was first but keeping it hidden as jealousy grows sharper, eyes darting his way but no one expecting him. He's just another face in the crowd, inside weighing every move, careful not to reveal a hint of advantage. someone having lost control over a single stat point, that weakness being all he needs, survival meaning holding power in silence and letting fear do the rest. No one realizing how far ahead he's already gone, and he intending to keep it that way. A cold system prompt cuts through the tension the shop is opening, every head snapping up, hope and dread clashing in silent faces, rules shifting again and leaving the weakest even further behind, no one knowing what the shop will cost, only that it decides who survives next. Gold changes everything. Spending gold means choosing between strength, skill, or a chance to live longer, studying the shop list, eyes sharp weighing every option as if each one is a weapon, others rushing, desperate for power, but he's staying silent, calculating what they'll miss in their panic. Only he's seeing the hidden costs buried in the system's cold offers, the gap between him and the rest growing wider. No hesitation. He investing in what no one else dares, locking in an advantage no one will see coming. Already hearing the others arguing, wasting time while he moves ahead in silence, pressing confirm and feeling the shift, stronger, but even more alone. A system message flashes, strength climbs by 9, but gold vanishes just as fast. Another message cuts through the noise, stamina jumps by 6, agility by 13, each upgrade widening the invisible distance between him and everyone else, no one noticing how much he sacrifices, only he knowing what it costs to survive, the numbers rising but so does the weight on his shoulders as he pushes forward. Stats appear, cold and exact, stands at level 1, every number exposed, no points left to spend, only the skills he just bought and the silent pressure of being watched, swordsmanship sitting at the lowest tier, every stat matching. No weakness, no edge, just balance, he's staring at the window, knowing balance means nothing when the next threat comes faster and stronger, no one else seeing how thin the line is between survival and being erased. Stats hang uneven, so he decides to set them all to 20. Frustration spills from the red-haired man as he curses the cost of leveling up, gripping his sword, standing behind him, silent and unnoticed, already calculating his next move as the room fills with tension. Silence thickens, broken only by one word demanding more. Suddenly, blue energy floods the air as a glowing figure steps forward, power radiating from every part of their body. Blue energy crackles in the young man's grip as he lifts his sword, a confident smile breaking through. Someone calls out to Mr. Lee, pulling his focus with a quiet urgency. A voice cuts through the tension, casual and unfazed, what's up, shifting the mood in an instant. Level 3 steps forward, her voice steady as she asks the dark-haired man for advice, he hesitating and glancing at her rank, challenging her. Why would she seek help from someone as weak as him? Instead of dismissing her, he nods and admits he was impressed by her courage. Numbers flicker into view, revealing stats and class for everyone to see. A digital counter blinks to life, displaying 800 coins earned. She asks how much gold he has, watching him closely. He's saying 800, voice steady, hiding that he's using a cheat key. She believing him, not realizing he's holding back a secret advantage, tension sharpening as he weighs survival against trust, careful not to reveal too much, each answer pulling him deeper into the game, alone and underestimated. He asks if she likes to exercise, voice casual but eyes sharp, she answering honestly, admitting she doesn't mind walking, he pointing out her low stamina, sounding almost amused, she looking uneasy, realizing her weakness is obvious, he confirming it with a simple nod, already thinking ahead. She listens, surprised, then nods and accepts the advice without hesitation. A cold voice cuts through the air. First floor mission begins soon, he standing still, unreadable, already bracing for what comes next. She stiffening, caught off guard by the sudden change in stakes, everyone sensing the shift, but only he staying calm as the countdown starts. A system message appears, demanding you form your own 3-man party. System voice rings out. Those without a party will be thrown together, no choice given. A new warning drops. 30 minutes is all you get. He hears about the group mission and feels the pressure hit sooner than expected. Breaks the silence and asks if they should reveal their classes, trying to make a deal before anyone else acts. Lowers his guard and asks you to team up, hope flickering in his voice. Steps forward, offering to join as a healer, and I accept without hesitation. Survival demands every advantage. No matter who I ask, the answer never changes, a shaky laugh slipping from behind the hood. He turns me down like the others, I hearing another excuse, always the same. They need time or someone better. Standing here, I realize I'm still on my own, left with nothing but silence pushing me forward. Even with a healer in my group, doubt still creeps in. I sense they want nothing to do with me. Whispers of doubt pass between them as the woman turns to, searching for an answer he doesn't give. Level 4 players stay calm, always sure nothing can touch them. Everyone pairs up quickly, leaving no room for outsiders. Stands apart as the last groups form, eyes scanning for any chance to belong, a bead of sweat rolling down the purple-haired young man's face as he speaks, voice low and tight. The people remaining are. Tension thickening as those left behind realize too late they've been singled out. No one stepping forward to help, the gap between the safe and the stranded widening. Name not called, silence pressing in. Heavier than before, every second stretching, making survival feel farther out of reach. 30 minutes pass, and the system's voice cuts through the silence. No more time left, incomplete parties getting no choice now as random assignments begin, the rules turning cold. A mechanical voice drops, cold and absolute. The first floor mission begins. Sunlight falls gentle through golden leaves, too calm for what's coming. Someone mutters their bad luck, but no one listens. Red hair scoffs, voice sharp, letting his disgust show for the party's weakest link. Tension settling as nervous eyes flicker between him and the silent, uneasy target, no one stepping in. The gap between them widening, cold and obvious. Survival is not shared. Bares his teeth, voice cutting through the silence as he spits out a warning, without waiting for a response, turning his glare, making it clear who holds power here. No one daring to answer. His level alone keeping the others frozen. Cooperation slipping further from reach, hostility growing thicker, forcing the weakest to look away, already outmatched before the fight begins. No one can help now. Only the outcome matters, not the chances. No one moves as the young man clenches his jaw, shutting out every doubt. He stares forward, voice steady, forcing his resolve into the silence. He needs to make it possible. Lunges upward, hand outstretched, snatching the princess's wrist as they fall, she not pulling back. Her trust in him silent but absolute, even as the ground rushes closer. His grip tightening, arms shaking, fighting panic while everyone else watches from above, unmoved, no one offering help. It's just the two of them hanging by a thread, surrounded by stillness and risk. Every second he struggles, the gap between them and safety growing sharper, leaving them further behind, he looking up, searching for hope. But all he finds is expectation. Failure isn't allowed here, no way out except forward, and he knows if he lets go, no one survives. Above them, only the silent sky and the restless leaves remain, waiting for his next move. He lifts his wooden sword, steady hands betraying none of the fear twisting inside. He steps forward, knowing survival is the only rule left. Mission appears above the clearing, pressing 12 hours onto 3 figures as the red-haired man surveys the kobold camp, his companions silent at his back. Red-haired man claims the mission as his own, voice sharp as the dark-haired man lowers his gaze and reminds him this fight is not his alone. Red-haired man snaps at his teammate, voice heavy with scorn, making it clear who owns the lead here. Dark purple-haired young man lets out a slow breath, voice low as he agrees to follow orders for now, hiding frustration behind careful words. Red-haired man scoffs, taunting about riding coattails, testing the black-haired man's patience, who responds calmly, steady, and unyielding, while the haired woman watches silently, worry flickering in her eyes, knowing someone will have to pay for a mistake. Woman glances at her teammates, doubt flickering as she wonders if this party can survive what's coming. Muscular man swings at the swarm, cursing as bugs crawl over his arms and frustration builds, while teammates keep their distance, eyes darting, tension rising as he insists the mission must go smoothly, though no one believes it will. Haired man freezes, gaze fixed above as a huge insect creature crouches on the branch, watching him in silence. Sword in hand, the pink-shirted man charges first, red-haired ally matching his pace as they rush straight at the looming insect monsters. Pink-shirted man halts, senses sharp as he listens to the insects all around, grip tightening on his sword. Pink-shirted man glances up, eyes catching the strange glow of fruit hanging just out of reach, unsure if it's a trap or chance. Freezes as his name slices through the noise, every muscle tense, caught off guard and exposed. Steadies his grip on the knife as the woman's question hangs in the air, both of them bracing for a threat they can't measure yet. Warns her to stay alert, voice low and steady, reminding her this place punishes the careless, and she nods with a quick smile, hiding her nerves as silent danger waits just ahead. Muscular hands clamp down on a wooden weapon, ready to bring it down with no hesitation. Muscular figure clenches his fist, power flooding in fast, tension rising as he prepares to strike without mercy. Power surges through thick legs, muscle tensing as each step presses into the floor, warning everyone that force will decide what happens next. He flinches, breath catching as something cold and heavy fills the air, warning him he's outmatched. He freezes, eyes wide as the level 5 kobold lifts a heavy wooden club with ease, strength and danger hanging between them. Fear settles in as she crouches, voice shaking while asking what to do next, eyes fixed on the monster's massive club, and he, scanning the shadows with tense nerves, suggests checking the area first to avoid provoking more kobolds. Bushes rustle, then a single black shoe presses down, silent and certain, as someone new enters the hunt. She lashes out, voice sharp, blaming him for always hiding and dragging them into danger, but he just stays silent, pressed low behind the bushes, fear holding him back as her words cut through the quiet. A single green leaf rests alone, silent and untouched, as the world waits just beyond the edges. Rain beats down, leaves scatter and something strikes hard, fast, silent, no warning, breaking the calm and shifting everything in an instant. White-haired brute swings his club with crushing force, but the red-haired fighter twists away in midair, barely slipping past the blow as danger closes in again. Werewolf halts, eyes narrow, confusion flickering as he senses a threat he can't see. Red-haired man's fist slams into the wall, rage exploding as he shouts that you're still at level 1, each word cutting deeper than his blow. Sudden noise splits the tension. Both the girl and the boy freeze, breaths held as fear creeps in. Orange-haired man locks eyes with you, grins sharp and cold, threat heavy in the air. Chapter 4 begins. Credits flash by as the weight of what just happened lingers, and there's no pause before the next threat moves closer. Fist crashes into his face. Red eyes burn with anger as he refuses to fall, pressure building, but he refuses to yield. A fist slams into the beast's jaw, glowing eyes daring it to fight back, while bystanders freeze in fear behind cover as the beast's growl erupts in rage, the brutal gap clear, and no one steps in, survival meaning only watching and hoping you're not next. Bushes barely hide him as he watches, breath tight, doubting anyone would risk this alone. Red-haired man's fist connects with the kobold's snout, tension sharp as the woman weaves green energy behind him. Black-haired man silent and tense, still waiting for a chance to matter. Red-haired man spits out the words, anger burning as his fist drives the beast back. Woman's spell glows faint behind him, and the boy stays hidden, unnoticed, still too weak to join. He watches the red-haired man move, realizing his strength matches his level, no wasted effort. Drives his fist forward with all his strength, confident that with support, even this fight might be his alone. Frowns, mind racing as he wonders why his attacks barely leave a mark despite his strength, searching for a hidden weakness that could tip the fight. A blue message flashes across the digital interface, system relaying the guide as if something beyond human control has taken over. Shock hits raw and sharp, freezing every thought in place, as something overwhelming enters the fight without warning. System interrupts, laying out the rules. Kobolds do nothing unless someone makes the first move. Realization snaps through the group as the young man understands triggered chaos with no purpose, leaving them exposed and uncertain of what comes next. Someone slides the control forward, voice steady as they turn risk into a plan, pushing past fear because research demands results. Shock hits hard. The blue-eyed stranger freezes as something changes that no one expected. Shock deepens. Tension hangs as something impossible comes into focus, forcing everyone to face a truth they can't ignore. Rage explodes as the red-haired man swings his stone fist, power cracking against the muscular opponent, shocking the woman who stands back and watches the balance shatter. No one counts how many vanish, but each morning fewer faces gather and silence spreads as the beast's shadow lingers at the edge of the village. Wind howls, a massive tree crashes down without warning, scattering leaves and dust as everyone freezes in its shadow. Fist drives into flesh, red-haired man's anger crashing against muscle, forcing the air to change as the woman stares, helpless, wide-eyed, already knowing this fight isn't fair. Muscles tense, the beast-man stands alert before the fallen tree, eyes searching for any sign of threat or weakness. Growl cuts through the tense air, Kobold's power bearing down as the red-haired man flinches, fear taking over, his voice breaking in panic. Two beasts charge with claws out and wild eyes, green energy flickering between the humans, as the red-haired man grits his teeth blocking a heavy swing. The white-haired woman pushes back with a sharp burst of green light, yet the smaller creature slips past toward her, and no one calls for help, each move a fight for survival. Red-haired man scrambles to block the blow, sweat stinging his eyes as he glances at Lee, waiting for help that never comes. Bright flash erupts from the bushes, catching everyone off guard, as a voice snaps in disbelief. Someone calls the main character a loser and wonders if he ran. Werewolf's club comes crashing down. Red-haired fighter grits out a cry as his arms strain to block, bones trembling under brute force. Someone shouts a warning at, urgency cutting through the chaos as danger closes in. Muscles tense, the man swings his weapon down with brutal force. Woman in white coat jerks back just in time, shock flashing in her eyes as air splits beside her. Sudden weight slams down, rock splinters beneath a stranger's foot, tension spikes as everyone freezes. Boy hits the ground hard, breath knocked out as the bigger man's strength crushes any hope of fighting back. Shock hits her, breath catching as she realizes just how far behind she is. Sword flashes up just in time, arm shaking as she blocks the blow mid-fall, panic widening her eyes as force hammers through her guard. Something massive blocks the light, red eyes locking onto her as claws flex and a growl rips through the silence, a fist rising with brutal intent, crushing hope before she can even breathe. Grandpa Earl's fist smashes straight through the wall, splinters flying as his voice rings out, proud and certain. Snarl splits the air as the werewolf lunges, claws slicing forward with no warning, speed and power leaving no space to react. Blade strikes fast, slicing clean through the apple as purple juice bursts out, the room holding its breath at the show of control. Muscles tighten as he braces, energy crackling in the air, every nerve waiting for the hit that's coming too fast to stop. Sword swings up just in time, steel meeting claws as the beast's weight crashes down, forcing him back while the woman slips away, helpless to help. Chest erupts with harsh purple light as the beast recoils, startled and exposed, raw power spilling out without warning. Power surges as the monster roars, purple energy bursting out in a wave that shoves everything aside, no warning and no escape. Shockwave rips through the sky above, but he steps forward, untouched and relentless. System message appears, confirming the kill. Everything goes quiet for a moment except the words declaring victory. The man in the pink jacket turns away, sword in hand, leaving chaos behind, while the woman drops to her knees beside the broken body, helpless, and the man in the leopard print shirt swings his bat with blind rage at someone who can't fight back. Hands tighten around the wooden club as the monster's twisted arm rises, both sides ready to strike, but only one looks sure to survive. Red-haired man's eyes go wide, voice cracking as he shouts back in disbelief, the word loser hanging heavy between them. Her voice cracks through the chaos, calling's name with nothing but hope and fear. Realization hits like a blow, truth, breaking through the noise without warning. Studies the untouched purple fruit, suspicion rising as he remembers the bugs ignored only these. Draws a poison apple from his inventory, fingers steady as a digital guide flashes. Kobolds fall to poison, mountains hold the cure, survival now demands risk. Grips the glowing apple and sword, resolve hardening as he faces the next test alone. Pressure builds as the man locks his jaw, sweat cutting down his face while he fights to keep control. Red-haired man drops to his knees in sharp pain, barely noticed by others, while the dark-haired man steadies, calm yet alert, their unspoken trust clear, and she nods with relief, though danger still looms over them all. Wipes sweat from his brow, mind racing as he realizes another threat appeared only because of the aggro, relief mixing with unease. He knows a single mistake, and he would already be too late. Woman forces a smile, thumb raised in shaky thanks as she admits relief, but tension lingers between them. Everyone knows luck rarely holds for long. Red-haired figure looks around, voice sharp as he demands to know where you disappeared, suspicion rising with every second of silence. Red-haired man's voice cuts through the noise, calling you a loser before you can answer, anger rising as all eyes shift in your direction. Red-haired man points straight at you, shouting that you hid while everyone else risked their lives, voice louder than the silence around you. Blonde girl steps forward, voice tight as she accuses you of stealing the final hit after she wore him down, leaving you exposed and alone under the weight of everyone's eyes. Accusations fly as you stand still, each word sharpening the distance between you and the rest, but confusion twists inside you. No one here is willing to listen. You stand alone, weighing their words but refusing to answer, telling yourself you should act above it all since your level's higher. Red-haired man steps forward, shoulders tense, his presence heavier than his nerves allow. Someone behind mutters, uncertain and sharp, questioning if he's lost his mind, but no one dares move. Cold air escapes your lips, steady and silent, as you hold your ground and let their doubts pass over you. He can't read the room, so every step just gets harder for him, pressure building with no one willing to help. Clouds gather above, heavy and silent, pressing down on the ground like a warning that no one can ignore. Red banners hang heavy with skulls at the edge of the clearing, warning every outsider what waits beyond. Speaks his name into the silence, drawing a line that no one else dares to cross. Punch lands hard, shaking the ground as goblin-like creatures scatter in panic, but eyes turn instead to the small boy fighting alone behind him. Red-haired man swings his fist without warning, smashing into the beast child and sending both him and the white-haired girl stumbling back, fear widening in their eyes as power crushes any hope of fighting back. Disgust drips from every word as monsters are dismissed like dirt beneath a boot, their worth already decided before the fight can even begin. Werewolf's fist explodes into the man's chest, ripping away any chance to fight back as blood sprays and silence falls. Muscular man roars, eyes burning as he lunges forward, daring anyone to stop him, power crackling in every step. Woman slashes through the kobold, dark-haired boy follows with a punch, both grinning as the kill count rises, but red-haired man's shout cuts through their celebration, frustration boiling over as he's left behind. Red-haired man struggles to keep his footing as two monsters swing their clubs at him, blocked on both sides, muscles straining and breath ragged, while the woman's laughter cuts through the chaos without care. He watches the others cut down monsters with ease, half smiling but lost, wondering why it feels so simple for them and not for him. Two monsters grab the red-haired man and slam him hard into the ground, his cry swallowed by their strength. Clawed hand slams down, pain shoots through the air, voice breaks with a raw cry. No one moves to help. Clawed hand crashes down, crushing hope in a single, brutal instant. Desperate screams echo, but no one steps in. Face pressed into the dirt, his scream cuts through the silence. Tears streak down as strength leaves his body. He flinches at a sudden sound, pain tightening his grip on his head as he struggles to breathe. Silent tension fills the air as one demon's glare dares the other to move, power simmering between them with no words needed. Sudden movement breaks the standoff. A sword slams down and the ground erupts under its force, turning the threat real in an instant. Rocks drop without warning, forcing him to look up, shock freezing his next move. Clouds churn overhead, shadows deepen across the trees, pressure building with no escape in sight. He stands over the cowering red-haired figure, sword steady, leaving no room for hope. Something glimmers in the dust, a pink shard small and out of place, waiting to be noticed. Smug words break the tension as the dark-haired young man claims the ride, eyes fixed on his rival, testing how far control can go. Silence lingers as the red-haired man lies still, his voice barely more than a breath, holding back everything he wants to say. Tension snaps as the red-haired man starts to laugh, tears streaming down his face, his voice shaking between joy and pain. Shouting breaks through the evening air, cutting off every thought as both turn in shock, hearts pounding with dread. System message cuts through the chaos, confirming the mission is finished, but the emptiness remains. Three step through the glowing portal, determination holding them together as they enter the lobby, silent and watched. Regret hits hard as he looks down, sweat cold on his skin, realizing too late what he set in motion. The red-haired fighter drops to his knees, voice shaking as he calls Sir, pride suppressed, while stands awkwardly, caught off guard, and cheers his level up, the respect feeling sharp and mocking. Grits his teeth, fear twisting inside, but his promise chains him in place. Pain seizes the red-haired man as he clenches his fists, struggling to hold back a cry while the others watch, uncertain and tense. Silence hangs as three step into the empty, dim space, eyes searching for threats. No one else has arrived, and a shared glance acknowledges that luck and sharp thinking let them outpace everyone. Red-haired man's eyes widen as he hears the ranking, doubt and worry flickering across his face, his voice unsteady first place. Woman turns, voice rising as she credits survival to sharp eyes and quick thinking. Not just luck, poison was never even an option before now. Dark-haired young man forces a smile, voice shaking, as he thanks someone just out of sight, admitting he feels like a fraud. Two groups move carefully toward the glowing blue portal in silence, while determination sharpens in the young man's eyes as he leads the way. Silence stretches as the robed figure steps forward, voice calm, noting that other groups are returning now. Praise lands on his team, woman's voice breaking the tension as she calls out their names, eyes steady on the dark-haired man who nods in quiet acceptance. He watches, mind racing as he realizes others have found the poisonous apples too, threat multiplying before anyone can react. Unease settles as he wonders if the other parties will survive, tension tightening with each passing moment. Suddenly, blue energy erupts through the chamber, crackling without warning and cutting off every sound. A glowing portal opens as two men stumble through, one barely standing while the other drags him forward. Voices shout warnings sharp with fear, and every eye locks on the newcomers as tension rises with each step. Energy bursts outward, water shatters in every direction, and no one has time to react. Water closes over their heads as the dark-haired man pushes upward, refusing to let go, while the cap-wearing man gasps, clinging tight, relief flickering between panic and hope as they near the surface. The woman kneels beside the wounded man, voice trembling as she asks about the missing third person, and he lets out a weak sound while anxious eyes dart around, no one daring to move. He crouches alone, voice shaking as he whispers, "It's just the two of us," panic thick in the air, while the monster crashes into the swordsmen behind him, claws ripping through their guard, leaving no room for hope. Mission status blares overhead, cold and final, while the cap-wearing man stands frozen, tears mixing with relief and dread as eyes lock on the glowing device. No one celebrating, tension coiling, as every survivor knows this is only the start. Mission update cuts through the silence, confirming every group has survived, just barely, while fear lingers thick and unbroken. Woman lunges, grabbing the dark-haired man's shoulder, her voice sharp as she shouts that someone is still missing, stopping the group in their tracks. 6 parties crawl back alive. Tension hangs heavy, each survivor marked by what was lost. 8 are gone, and his breath catches as the truth lands hard. No one expected it to be this brutal. Survival was never promised, and deep down I knew most wouldn't make it back. 8 dead, he tries to process it, shock tightening his grip as the numbers sink in. Night presses in, tower looming as doubt spreads. No one knows who will be next, only that more will fall. He steps forward, alone among the skulls, while the glowing tower waits behind him, daring anyone to challenge his place. Skulls watch in silence as the warning settles. Nothing will be fair before reaching the top. Grief explodes as the boy screams at the man, blame and rage cutting through the silence, while the man can only hide behind shaking hands, crushed by guilt he cannot answer. Mission parameters lock in, system begins calculation, and all paths narrow to a single chance. 6 survivors stand together, each holding on to their own reason for making it this far, but unity here only hides the fear of what comes next. 3 survivors stare at the glowing screens, names flashing at the top, realization settling in as shock and pride mix with fear, proof of clearing the first level heavy and undeniable, yet the next, harsher test waits unseen. A cold voice cuts through the tension, listing the reward without emotion, and the promise of gold feels hollow against the weight of what's next. Lee sees his name on the reward screen, 2,000 gold credited for both bonuses, but the number feels small compared to the challenge ahead. Studies the 5,000 gold, calling it insurance, knowing it's barely enough to keep him safe when the rules turn cruel again. Grips the thought tight, pushing himself to save every scrap he can, because soon, nothing will be enough. Lee's stats appear across the screen, every number at its max, no sign of weakness. Curiosity cuts through the tension as he asks which party reached first, searching for a hint of hope in the competition's harsh silence. Decides to reveal what he's been hiding, tension rising as the others watch his every move, suspicion heavy in the air. Silence breaks as one boy raises his hand, voice shaking, admitting their group is to blame. Mocking laughter fills the room. Red-haired brute calls them weaklings, his words crushing hope before anyone can respond. Doubt cuts through the tension as the brown-haired man questions her, eyes scanning for any weakness, suspicion shifting to her group. A red-haired man steps forward, voice sharp as he shoves blame, demanding answers no one dares give. The dark-haired man meets his glare in silence, and pressure shifts to the boy in the hoodie, stammering a denial drowned by the challenge. He remembers how easily that guy lost to kobolds, a small grin forming as doubt takes the pressure off me. Whispers ripple through the crowd as eyes turn to Lee, his calm face giving nothing away while envy sharpens every word around him. The woman grabs the dark-haired man's arm, voice cracking to stop what's coming, but no one listens, the red-haired man smirking behind them certain he controls the outcome, while the dark-haired man stays silent, tension rising as he realizes he's alone against their judgment with no help coming. Dark-haired man rests his hand on her shoulder, steady voice cutting through her worry as he tells her not to expect help, but determination flickers in her eyes, refusing to fade. Everyone doubts him, but he decides to prove them wrong, resolve hardening in the silence. Hands clap together, sharp and loud, silencing every doubt in the room, and the balance shifts before anyone can react. Flames blaze pink along the ceiling, crackling with magic that stains the air and dares anyone to step closer. Purple torches flicker in the darkness, sudden red warnings cut through the silence as something hidden stirs. He looks up as the torch flame snaps from orange to violet and white, warning pulsing through the dark, and fear spreads before he can move. Shock freezes the air. Someone realizes too late that the threat is real. Survival rate drops below average, and every hope in this place sinks lower with it. 7 heads snap up as a cold voice declares a penalty mission, shock and confusion rippling through the group. Questions hanging unanswered, fear settling fast as the system forces forward, power shifting without warning, leaving the weak behind. The yellow-haired boy steps forward, voice sharp, promising pain even after death with no one stopping him, while tension spikes as another boy shouts for mercy, his words barely slowing the looming threat. Red letters flare up, cold and final, death mission will begin soon. The death mission announcement freezes everyone in shock, silence holding as pressure crushes the room, making it clear that only the strong will survive this round. Shock hits as the rules change, red text demanding each person pick a target for the death mission, and panic spreads before anyone can protest. Timer blares to life, 5 minutes left, everyone's fate now counts down, and there's no time to doubt. Time slips away, 5 minutes left, and everyone feels the weight press even harder. 2 stand frozen as the timer flashes down, rules twisting hope into a trap, and fear tightens when the system warns any hesitation will turn your vote against yourself. Everyone stares up at the timer as seconds bleed away, each person silent, trapped by the same fear. Everything stops when a single word crashes down, louder than thought, death. 2 crows descend without mercy, red eyes fixed as one snaps at the bound figure, claws digging in while the other waits, silent and cruel. Darkness presses in, swallowing every sound as something waits unseen, patient and close. 4 pairs of eyes lock onto the ticking numbers, breaths tight as the main character's hand freezes between fear and duty, no one daring to move while sweat runs down faces and the timer bleeds seconds, hesitation gripping him as time forces a fast, unfair and final choice that will cut one of them out. Tension snaps as the woman throws out a plan, voice steady but hands shaking, demanding everyone vote for themselves to avoid the death mission, But fear floods the group as her logic falters, doubt rising fast. He snaps, yelling at her to stop wasting time as the countdown blares 2:15 between them, tension spiking while choices shrink. Someone shouts that the time is still ticking, panic flooding the group as 1:31 flashes bright on the timer. Someone shouts and three arms shoot out, all pointing at one figure standing alone, separated from the group, calm while eyes turn toward him in fear. Ignores the shout behind him, gripping the wooden stick as he moves forward alone. Fear cracks through the silence, someone trembles and protests, but no one steps forward to help. No one steps in to protect him, so the young man blurts out his defense, voice shaking as he clings to the hope of staying unseen. Words stumble out, voice thin and weak, apology hanging in the air with nothing to shield him. No one speaks as the leader breaks the silence, voice steady. Someone must decide now. He forces a calm smile, admitting the tension caught him off guard, but he keeps his true feelings hidden. Fear settles in as he whispers his truth, admitting he wants to live no matter what. A voice cuts through the dark, urgent and sharp. Someone cries out, "It's not too late," and everything stops. Plans clash as the woman pushes for a desperate vote, but the black-haired man shuts her down with quiet certainty, ending hope before it can start. Doubt creeps in as someone questions if Lee's plan can really save anyone, hesitation spreading through the group. No one speaks now, tension thick around the young man as sweat drips down his face, his silence exposing fear he can't hide. No one moves, trust already shattered between them. Worried words reach, but he keeps his eyes down, trapped in silence as pressure builds. Votes keep rising above his head, each number a silent accusation as time slips away. But none of that mattered compared to the real reason pressing in, heavier than every vote or whispered doubt. He stands alone at level 2, surrounded on all sides by stronger enemies, every gaze pressing him down. Everyone here believes I'm weak, easy to ignore, not worth fearing. They have forgotten what it means for the strong to protect the weak, letting the old rules rot in silence. A desperate voice cuts through, accusing everyone of cruelty, but no one steps forward to answer. Fear spreads as the woman begs for a way out, but no one helps. The red-haired woman shrugs off panic, claiming the weak die first with no objection, every plea ignored as the group turns away, leaving her alone and trembling, while the shadowed man watches silently, authority clear yet refusing to intervene, the weak exposed as the strong move on without pause. Now masks fall away, and people reveal their true selves. Timer drops to 1 second, silence presses in and no help comes. Someone finally speaks, voice low and flat, just one word, "Sorry." Red-haired man lunges forward, crushing someone's throat with one hand, his grin never fading. Names flash across the screen in bold red, every letter a silent warning. No one here is safe. Cold truth settles in. It really is the end of the world. A cold, mechanical voice cuts through the tension, sealing everyone's fate as all votes are locked in. Red light splits the darkness, energy crackles as a portal tears open, and every rule of safety vanishes at once. Power bursts from the sphere, raw and impossible to control, washing over everything in its path. He stands alone, back straight but small, forced to face the pulsing red orb above him. No one moves as the man with the cane steps forward, eyes locked on the swirling red portal, others frozen in disbelief. Words caught between fear and shock, power humming tense and unfair between them, every breath heavy with danger, and he stands alone, clearly outmatched, yet still moving forward. Someone screams name, voice cracking through the thick silence, panic spreading fast as everyone freezes behind her. Laughter breaks the tension, sharp and loud, as the red-haired man grins with sudden confidence, already celebrating his own plan. Lowers his eyes, face set and silent, red light painting his features as he braces for what's coming. Sacrifice is decided, altar prepared, and now no one can turn away. Guilt weighs on every back behind me as I step forward. No one follows, and the portal's red glow pulls me in alone. Something moves through the gloom, slow and sure, horned shadow closing in while the others freeze, unseen and silent, outmatched before the threat even arrives. Cart drifts out of the shadows, untouched and silent, cutting through the swirling sky as if called by something none of us see. Everything stops except the danger, still growing, unseen and unfair, waiting just ahead. Feet stop at the edge, swirling energy ahead, too close now to turn away. A cold message hangs above, voice flat and final, urging him into the red light. A promise cuts through the silence, reward offered only if he moves forward, no way back. Blue energy bursts around him, charging the air as he stands alone and unshaken, sharp focus, hiding the gap no one else sees. Sudden excitement breaks the tension, a twist turning risk into something tempting, but the threat still hangs over him, waiting. A woman stands at the cliff's edge, sword raised high as storm clouds twist with shadowy forms above her, defiance burning in her eyes while darkness presses closer, outnumbered and watched by monsters that don't fear her glow. Blue fire flickers on cold metal, cutting through the darkness, silent and unnatural, warning that rules have changed. Light breaks through the mist, catching the edge of a single sword hanging in the air, silent and waiting. Silence hangs over the hall as tension thickens, each person trapped in their own thoughts, no one daring to speak first. Someone drops to their knees as concern sharpens in the air. A single voice breaks through, asking if they can still stand. He sits beside her, glare burning while she keeps her thoughts hidden, unsure if she's already lost. Stands apart, voice low as he admits regret over leaving his companions behind, knowing trust once shared now means nothing in this place. Stands firm, voice steady as he takes control, leaving no room for doubt or protest. Red-haired man steps forward, anger sharp as he blames the dark-haired person without hesitation, the woman watching, worry ignored, while the dark-haired person clenches his bow, confusion rising as he fires back, his words unable to shift the balance. Tension lingers as someone off-panel asks if it isn't obvious just from that person's level, doubt cutting through the group's silence. Red-haired man laughs, mocking the one he thinks is weaker, certain his own power keeps him safe. Confusion breaks as another voice demands answers, suspicion twisting in the air, and focus shifts to the weakest link. Worried words slip out as she questions him, challenging his version of who really saved them, but he just listens, unmoved. Doubt cuts through the noise as someone scoffs, calling his success nothing but luck and tricks, ignoring the threat he quietly holds. Anger flares as the red-haired man points at him, accusing him of stealing the win right at the end, but shock freezes everyone else in place. Red-haired man's voice shakes as he demands to know if someone else saved her from death, panic making him slip. Fighters clash with monsters, weapons flashing as energy rips through the chaos, but the red-haired man stays back, sweat beading as suspicion grows. He wonders if someone is hiding a skill, masking their true level, quietly shifting the balance while everyone else fights for survival. Doubt creeps in, whispering that he was never meant to survive this far. Cracks spread under steady feet, weight pressing down as resolve hardens and the others freeze, sensing something shift. Whispers run through the empty arena as someone hopes Lee is as strong as the rumors claim, tension rising with every silent second. He hesitates by the glowing platform, hope flickering as he weighs the risk, knowing even a small chance is all he can offer. Resolve sharpens, words cut through the tension as intent becomes clear, and no one moves to stop what's coming. He stares at her without mercy, her eyes fill with tears but his resolve does not falter. She wipes her tears, shoulders shaking as silence presses in, no one willing to reach for her. No one steps in, but someone's voice breaks through, steady and sure. Trust is quietly declared, and doubt hesitates for just a moment. Confidence sharpens in her voice as she promises return, fists clenched and hope refusing to break. Resolve tightens in his chest, fist clenching as he stands alone in the broken temple, sword pulsing with light. He stands alone, eyes closed, a calm smile forming as if the noise of the world can't touch him, untouched and underestimated. Someone unseen speaks with complete confidence, certain he will act just as they expect. Shadows ripple overhead as dark birds sweep through the sky, red eyes glinting with silent threat, their presence shifting the air from uneasy to dangerous. A lone crow lands atop a skull-staked post, silent and still, marking this ground as claimed by something cruel. He steps into the camp, careful and tense, eyes drawn to broken bodies scattered between twisted totems, silence pressing in as he realizes these are the same kobolds he fought before. Clouds hang heavy above, swallowing any hint of light as a voice breaks the silence, uncertain and alone. He reads the mission guide glowing in his hands, hope flickering as the promise of a high chance, and a rare reward pulls him forward. He considers voting for himself if things fall apart, relief flickering as the guide promises a high chance of success and a rare reward ahead. He clenches his fist, low anger building as the large man leans in, mocking him without fear. Kobold hunters return to their village, weapons ready, but freeze at the sight of their scattered kin. One man standing alone in the ruins, calm and untouched, facing the outnumbered group as hesitation ripples through the kobolds, power shifting in a single breath, every eye settling on him. 4 wolf creatures step from the shadows, yellow eyes burning as they close in, silent and sure of their strength. He feels the air tighten, blue eyes sharp as sweat slides down his face, and he knows they're here. Heat presses in as a demonic figure steps forward, red eyes blazing, and the wolves freeze under his shadow. Everything stops, system warning floods the air, death mission begins, no escape, no protest, only survival. A roar splits the chaos, boss chieftain leaps forward, rage shaking the pack as every kobold charges with him. No hesitation, only raw intent. Chapter marker stands alone, tension carried forward, nothing resolved, only the next trial waiting. System flashes a cold reminder. Kobold chieftain rules this dungeon, level 12, dangerous and towering, but poison can bring him down. A hand seizes the glowing fruit, crushing it without mercy as a surge of purple energy erupts, raw power released with no warning. A warning cuts through the gloom. Level 12 boss monster commands the kobolds, danger stacking higher than before. He grips the cracked vial, forcing thick, purple liquid onto his blade, knowing this is his only chance against something no one expects him to survive. Anyone else would have surrendered, but he stands his ground as the 2 beasts storm in, spears raised and eyes locked on their prey. Snarling, the beast lunges forward, spear aimed straight for his chest as raw force crashes down without warning. She charges forward, sword raised, but the largest monster swings its heavy weapon and stops her cold, smaller creatures closing in from every side. He locks eyes with the threat, jaw tight, focus burning through the chaos as pressure mounts and escape slips further away. He seizes the glowing sword, but rough hands force a wooden pole against it, power colliding as neither side gives in. A cold message cuts through the chaos, announcing 2 basic swordsmanship as raw power flickers to life beneath his grip. He surges forward, voice steady, as the blade cuts clean through 2 monsters, their attacks falling away like nothing. Mist hangs low as he stands over the fallen monsters, breath shaky but alive, relief flickering in his eyes while the world stays silent around him. Side characters fall away, silence sharpens, only one target remains. He glances back, shadows twist behind him, cold eyes meeting the monsters as their presence presses closer and the gap between them widens. Boss monster lunges without warning, swinging both swords with brutal force, but he meets the attack head-on, blade flashing as he strikes and sends the beast crashing back, suddenly shifting the balance. He faces the armored warriors next to Salt, blocking the heavy sword with both hands as metal scrapes and strength collides, his arms straining under the weight. He senses a shift, eyes widen as something impossible breaks through his guard, shock freezes him for a split second, too slow to react. He watches as his enemy pulls back just in time, turning what should be a crushing blow into a glancing hit, leaving him tense and doubting his own strength for the first time. Red-skinned boss monster steps forward, sword glowing with deadly intent, forcing him to grip his weapon and brace for impact. Beast-like warrior lunges in with brutal speed, sword raised high, catching him completely by surprise. Bird-like warrior surges ahead, sword aimed to kill, while blue-haired man stays back, clutching his dagger and waiting for an opening. Suddenly, the monster turns and flees, leaving everyone stunned and off balance, tension rising as no one trusts this easy escape. A violent sound cuts through the tension, silencing every thought in the room. Creatures' claws scrape the floor, matching the man's frantic steps as they race side by side, danger breathing between them, no time to look back. Purple energy lashes out as the young man strikes. The monster's HP bar drops to 32%, and doubt creeps in. Was this so-called boss just an easy bonus round for anyone who reached it? Clouds churn above, red and black swallowing all light as bare branches claw at the empty sky. Sword rests behind his head, calm voice cuts through the red sky. He welcomes the danger, sure others would fall here, but for him every threat is a chance. Shadow sweeps in fast, purple energy flashing as the young man raises his sword and meets the blow, arms straining against impossible force, outmatched but refusing to yield. Blades collide, sparks and purple energy crackle between them. Confusion flickers in his eyes as he's forced back, outmatched again. No warning, just raw power pressing in, no time to think, only to survive. He steps forward, confusion tightening his grip, eyes fixed on the armored wolf creature holding the glowing sword, tension thick between them as no words are exchanged. Night swallows the city, skyline blurred beneath heavy clouds, silence pressing in as danger hunts just beyond the light. He stands quietly, shadowed behind the demon as it bares its teeth, red eyes burning with threat, but no one pays him any mind. Just another weak pawn caught between monsters. Heat bursts through the silence, red light tearing the sky apart, no warning, just raw force splitting everything open. Red moon pulses above, casting a harsh pink beam straight down, cutting through the black clouds as if marking a target. Red slit eye snaps open, burning with cruel intent, and for a second nothing else in the world matters. He never sees it coming. Pain erupts as the bloodied weapon drives deep into his chest, breath stolen mid-shout, while the world shrinks to a single, brutal moment. Shadow moves in, attack coming without warning, no time to react, no chance to defend. Smirking lips curl as he speaks, voice cold and final, making it clear that the dead are already forgotten. Steps forward, voice loud and sure, promising to carry everyone through the coming floors. She drops to her knees, hands shaking, voice barely a whisper begging for mercy, while he stands behind her, gaze locked on the ground in heavy silence, and someone off to the side watches, doubtful and tense, waiting for a decision that could break her. Mocking voice cuts through the silence, scoffing at hope and shaming those left behind for praying to the dead. Mocking words hang in the air as the red-haired man crosses his arms, watching the woman lower her head in silent defeat. His name rings out, sharp and bitter, as someone spits blame at him for having no conscience even when the world is falling apart. Shock jolts through the room as the woman's voice makes the red-haired man flinch, tension snapping between them. Doubt creeps in as someone questions what happens if returns alive, but another voice cuts through, sure he won't survive this. Muscles tense, the angry man steps forward, shadowing the woman curled on the ground as she hugs herself, breath shaky, eyes searching for help with none coming, four watch in silence. One gripping a bow, two uneasy, none speaking, threat hanging in the air, isolating her, every second heavier, outnumbered, cornered, the gap between them leaving no room for escape. Silence breaks as a cold voice demands, "Are you really going to act like this till the end?" dragging hidden tension into the open and forcing everyone to choose a side. Blue light surges into the room, swallowing every sound as someone asks, calm but sharp, "Did I say something wrong?" Everyone freezes as she spots the portal, panic flickering across her face, hope and fear colliding in one sharp breath. 6 faces close in around the blue glow, each one tense, every move measured as the figure on the ground pulses with power, no one daring to step closer. 2 boys stand locked in a moment, Brown-haired boy's eyes go wide as warmth flickers across his face. Purple-haired boy watches him, wary but silent, tension hanging between hope and suspicion, neither willing to move first. He presses a hand to his chest, green light flares from the wound, calm never leaving his eyes as energy mends flesh in silence. Silence breaks as an announcement cuts through the darkness. The player who entered the death mission has survived, leaving everyone to question what power allowed one to return when all odds demanded failure. He steps forward through blue light, voice steady as he says, "I'm back." Red washes over the kobold chieftain's eyes, power twisting through its body, every warning too late as freezes in place, breath catching. Feet slam against dirt, pushing forward as time runs out and no one dares to follow. Blood spills faster than he can press down, HP dropping, sword shaking in his grip as every heartbeat counts down his chances. His hands tremble forcing the quartz glass, but the purple mist lashes back stronger than her will, pressure building in her chest, strength draining as the mist tears deeper, seizing control, the chestnut-haired girl calling out barely heard, her focus locked on survival, the gap widening, power shifting, the fight turning cold, and everyone seeing only one side breaking. Smoke thickens, red eyes blaze out as the monster throws back its head and roars, sound splitting the air, HP bar slipping lower but its fury only growing. He lunges without warning, red weapon raised, aiming to end it in a single blow. He barrels forward, eyes burning, weapon gripped tight, every step shaking the ground. A silent, massive spectral dragon coiling behind him, its shadow swallowing hope, needing only one chance, one hit, and everyone watching knowing it won't be fair. No one understands how he's still standing. Confusion hangs in the silence. Hope flickers but doubt grows stronger. Pain shoots through his body as he grabs his bleeding side, jaw set, refusing to fall. He stares up, breath caught, as a monstrous glowing eye opens in the dark, too big and too close, and no one is ready for what comes next. Without warning, the armored demon crashes his glowing red weapon into the ground, force shaking everything and cutting off all escape. Shock tears through the air as a blast rips the ground apart, debris flying, no one fast enough to react. Horned warrior leaps forward, one hand raised, firing a blast that splits the air as the man with the sword turns to run, knowing he can't block or outrun this power. Steel flashes as a sword swings out, slicing the air with speed too quick to follow, cutting open the space between life and death. Something tears straight through the tree, no warning, nothing left to defend against. Shock freezes him, sweat rolling down as he realizes too late he's been targeted. There's no time, no escape, just the weight of power pressing in. Time stalls, tension thickens as every instinct screams for him to stop. Sword crashes against stone, force meeting resistance with nothing giving, until a sharp, unnoticed nail slips forward, piercing through and cracking the surface effortlessly. Sword lifts, grip tightening as he faces the demon, mind racing with a new idea, resolve hardening as he shifts steps and braces to attack differently, while the demon waits, unbothered and confident in his strength. Momentum builds as it charges straight at me, speed and force closing the gap before I can react. Sword blazes with energy as he swings hard, pushing past hesitation and meeting the demon's calm eyes with raw resolve. Boot slams down, all weight behind it, pressure rising fast as the ground strains under the force. Red claw rips down, earth shattering under the weight, leaving no chance to dodge. Sudden light pierces the battlefield, smashing into the ground with a blast no one can block, earth splitting wide as power tears through every defense. Fiery eyes lock onto him, burning with hunger, as the creature lunges straight for his chest, sword drawn tight but his grip already shaking from the force pressing in. Wind cuts sharp and cold across her face, snow drifting around her, each breath biting winter into her chest as she closes her eyes, alone in the silence, holding onto a season no one else can claim. Blue energy erupts, swallowing everything in its path, too fast for anyone to run or resist. Energy gathers in one spot, pressure rising so fast it leaves no time to react. He lunges forward, driving the glowing weapon deep into the monster's body, ignoring its furious scream as power crackles between them. He feels the new skill take root, a small victory flickering against the silence that follows the fight. A cold message cuts through the silence, announcing survival where failure meant death. Footsteps hit the ground hard, closing distance fast as the other figure waits without moving. He stands completely still, every sound around him sharpening as he listens, waiting for what comes next. Joy crashes into relief as the woman lunges forward, but her hug turns into an awkward collision, catching off guard and breaking the tense quiet. His eyes narrow, locking onto his target as every thought sharpens into resolve. Power slams into the room as she swings her leg, both opponents thrown back without a chance to react. Confusion settles as she sits on the ground, startled by the sudden shift and left searching for answers. Confusion flares as the blue-haired man stiffens, caught off guard by the red-haired man's sudden, close grip. No warning, no way out. Relief crashes through as the red-haired man pulls into a tight embrace, voice shaking with fierce joy, but his eyes stay distant, weighed down by what he's seen. Silence takes over, empty space stretching between them, nothing said and nothing decided, but the pressure to act grows heavier. A plain coffin rests in the middle with carefully placed flowers, all eyes drawn to the note beneath it. Words from grieving parents speaking of love and loss, calling their daughter a gift lost to illness. Mother's pride cutting through sadness as a state official determined not to mourn. Every line pressing hope onto the living to survive and find happiness. The promise of endless love lingering despite the quiet. Red-haired hands clamp down on his shoulders, grip tight and unyielding, forcing the blue-haired man to freeze in confusion. Red-haired hands shake him hard, voice breaking as trust shatters in the open. Arthur scoffs, voice sharp as he throws the words, calling out weakness and daring anyone to prove him wrong. Mocking laughter cuts through the tension. Someone boasts that not even a death mission is enough to threaten, the strongest in the universe. Red-haired arms clamp tight around him, crushing any chance to fight back as everyone stares, silent and judging. Someone calls out his name, catching him off guard, and in that brief silence, everyone waits for his next move. No one moves as a cold voice breaks the silence, questioning if truly survived the death mission. Red-haired man seizes from behind, grip unyielding as 3 pairs of eyes freeze in anxious silence. Lee steps forward, his voice steady as he admits relief that survived, but no one else says a word. Tension keeps the air tight. Worried eyes shift to, as a quiet question breaks through, if the mission is cleared, where's all the strength he should have gained? Red-haired man clamps down on shoulder, voice low pointing out his unchanged level, standing silent, eyes steady as doubt spreads through the group, power and status dividing them further, no one stepping in, his isolation growing as the next moment waits, heavy and sharp. Someone finally wonders aloud if it's still only level 2, doubt sharpening as the gap becomes clear. Red-haired man grabs his shoulder, grip firm as the others watch in silence, waiting for him to break. Silence hovers, thick and cold, as everyone holds their breath, no one willing to move first. Pressure builds in his chest, pain lingering longer than expected, but he forces himself to stay quiet, refusing to show weakness. Pressure holds him down, but the world wants the weak to stay weak. Perfect scores line up, but his rank sits at the bottom. No praise, only quiet disappointment. Whispers fill the room as Lee stands alone, gripping his torn test paper, suspicion spreading with sharp, accusing voices calling him a cheater. No one standing with him, eyes cold, words turning his top score into another reason to hate him. Yet he stays silent, ignored and underestimated, grip tightening as the gap between him and the rest grows. They act quickly, refusing to let even a worm slip through their grip, tightening control before he can move. Speculation grows that he merely hid, waiting for a chance like before, deemed lacking strength, while stands silent, eyes hidden, surrounded by suspicion, no one seeing his true plan. Pressure builds as they look for anything to crush, ready to destroy what doesn't fit their rules. His hand tightens, silent anger rising as he accepts they will never see him for who he is, no matter what he does. He steps forward, voice cutting through their whispers, warning them not to speak so carelessly. Tension breaks as she steps in, voice sharp and steady, green energy flaring from her hand as she calls out their doubt. His words hit hard as she confronts, frustration rising while the tower groans around them, his apology swallowed by the threat pressing closer. Clenches her fist, voice trembling as she faces him, daring him to doubt her when he knows nothing. He keeps his eyes on the man towering over him, muscles tense, chain glinting under harsh lights, every second stretching as the threat grows heavier. Rage bursts out as he shouts, voice shaking the room, calling out the insult to his brother's name. Red-haired man steps forward, voice echoing as he mocks the crowd, daring anyone to answer him. No one moves, tension thick as the muscular man growls, refusing to back down. Blue-haired young man lets out a quiet breath, a small smile forming as tension drains from his face. A cold order cuts through the silence, demanding survival from everyone trapped in the tower, no matter what it takes. Dark-haired boy steadies himself, knowing he must prove his worth or be ignored. A translucent figure appears before the glowing doorway, voice sharp as it calls out for attention, breaking the uneasy calm. Red-haired man steps forward, anger tightening his stance as he blocks any way out, forcing the dark-haired man and woman to hold their ground, silent and tense, waiting for someone to make the first move. Silence stretches, then an unseen voice cuts through, cold and direct, demanding attention with a promise. Something must be revealed, and there is no room to refuse. Chapter 7 begins, tension holding steady, as everything hangs in the pause before what's next. 3 soldiers tense behind battered barricades, urgency pressing in as orders ring out. Reinforcements are close, but survival depends on holding this ground now. He lifts the indomitable sword high, its shine casting doubt over every onlooker, power clear and impossible to deny. Shock cuts through the crowd as someone blurts out, rare rank revealed, shifting the balance in an instant. Doubt lingers as the boy questions the sword's strange power boost. Girl lifts the old blade higher, searching for any hidden sign. Red-haired man breaks the silence, voice steady, admitting respect for the one who held the poison apple. The dark-haired man lowering his gaze and replying with careful humility, sword still glowing. The woman glancing between them and clapping softly in quiet support, while the bearded man stays tense at the edge, eyes locked on the sword, waiting for the next move. Someone speaks up, saying this kind of reward is worth far more than anything else offered here. He steps forward with a smirk, offering help for survival in exchange for experience, confidence cutting through the tension. He leans in, smirk sharp as he repeats their words, making survival sound like a game he's already won. Silence cuts through the group as a new voice warns them, cold and calm, reminding everyone how quickly safety can be forgotten. Smirk curls on his lips, cold and sharp as rain starts to fall, head bows lower, shoulders tense, resignation settling in while the threat lingers between them. Eyes burn with quiet fury as he finally speaks, voice steady while tension thickens around him. No one answers, tension hangs heavy as he glares at them, voice trembling with rage. He reminds them they almost killed him. Man in purple sweater tightens his grip on the weapon, holding it out as the others freeze and watch every move. Words slip out like a threat, warning that someone dangerous is closing in, and there's no escape waiting, only trouble. Silence hangs between them, tension pressing down as the blonde woman keeps her mouth shut, and no one dares to move first. He bites down hard, holding back anger he can't show, tension building as he waits for someone to make a mistake. He lowers his voice, agreeing without flinching, control never slipping as the others watch for a sign of weakness. He speaks quietly, admitting he only cared about himself, hoping it would never be his turn, while the other just listens, unmoved. Everyone knows he's the weakest, yet they still chose him, each word heavy with blame and doubt. He clutches his hood, eyes darting as he realizes being cautious is no different from painting a target on his back. Now one of them hangs upside down, voice shaking as he begs for forgiveness, saying they sacrificed him to save themselves. Someone speaks, their words cut through the silence, honest and unexpected. Shock floods the room as he stares, unable to believe someone actually survived. Tension freezes the air as the man in the pink shirt steps forward, red sword low but ready, eyes fixed on the kneeling man who keeps his head down, fists clenched, refusing to beg, silence pressing in broken only by a bystander's shallow breath. Another onlooker shifting with arms crossed, hoping the danger passes, power hanging heavy and unfair as the man in pink never hesitates, daring anyone to challenge his control. No one moves as a voice asks why it had to go this far, brushing off the risk like it's nothing, each word making the gap between them wider. She tries to ease the tension, her voice shaky as she points out the rare item he brought back. But he stays silent, not trusting the words or the safety they promise. Shock cuts through the standstill as the young man in the orange jacket steps forward, voice raw with anger, confronting the two silent figures in white and black. Accusations fly as the young man shouts demanding if he feels guilty, twisting in shock as blame circles back, one woman crossing her arms with a smug, distant smile, another standing apart with cold eyes treating the scene as trivial, leaving the main character exposed in the chaos. Silence breaks as a hand shoots out, gripping the young man's wrist tight, stopping him mid-sentence, control shifting without warning. Control shifts again. A calm voice cuts through the tension, making it clear this moment isn't about punishment, only intent. Blue-haired young man speaks with steady resolve, promising to stop this from happening again, while the brown-haired one hesitates, unable to argue. Tension thickens as the dark-haired one speaks up, warning everyone that the tower is splitting them apart, his words landing heavy and cold. Distrust spreads through the group as the tower looms, silent and unyielding, forcing everyone further apart. Shadows lunge at each other, swords flashing as chaos erupts without warning. Red light bursts through the shadows as someone mocks their struggle, certain they are being led to destruction, and no one steps forward to deny it. Bodies scatter across the ground, swords abandoned where they fell, as a red slash tears through everything in a single, merciless sweep. Four stand close in the dim hall, each face tight with worry as they sense danger pressing in, nobody sure who will survive the next move. No one expects a survivor, but the words cut through. Returning from a death mission means a chance others never had. No one expects him to stand, but he clenches his fist and speaks, refusing to let the tower decide his fate. Silence holds for a moment, then a question breaks through, asking if he has any plan for the future. He answers without hesitation, promising to find a way for the most people to survive and keep climbing the tower. No one looks back now, only up. She promises they will climb higher, determination cutting through the fear as both stand together against the impossible path ahead. Three stand side by side, eyes fixed ahead, each promise unspoken but heavy in the air. He lifts his gaze, searching for a sign above, mind racing with silent questions no one else will answer. He steps forward, sword burning in his grip as he speaks, hope flickering in every word while the others watch him, silent and unsure. He stands alone, staring into the blinding light, hope steady but no one beside him. They gather in the open light, breaths tense as lines form without words, one holding the glowing sword steady while others form a wall behind him, no one trusting the silence, eyes searching for threats that could end them in a blink, power hanging unfair and cold, pushing the main one forward as the others hesitate, leaving him isolated and underestimated, none stepping ahead. She raises her voice, demanding everyone join hands, determination cutting through the doubt hanging in the air. The healer presses hard on the bleeding wound, voice shaking as she warns the damage is worsening, the soldier clenching his jaw, refusing to back down and insisting he won't abandon his post, the commander stepping in with a sharp promise of reinforcements to force evacuation, tension spiking as orders clash with duty, survival hanging on a single, unwanted decision. Hands clasped tight as two resolve to act, the rest watching silent and uncertain, holding back, until a sudden cry breaks out, one man recoiling in alarm and fear spreading before anyone moves. No one expected kindness here, but his offer stuns them all, leaving silence in its wake. Regret flickers in his eyes as he realizes judging by level was a mistake, hope rising in the space between them as the quiet bystander simply watches. Shock cuts through the tension as someone cries out, breaking the fragile silence, and every eye turns, bracing for what comes next. He stands alone in the tension, mind heavy with words no one else dares to say. How unfortunate. They move together through the narrow corridor, his steps steady, her breath shaking beside him, both knowing they're watched but unable to stop. KOM steps forward, voice light but command clear, announcing it's a survival game as the others freeze, realizing the stakes just changed. Everything stops, shock hitting harder than any blow, and no one is ready for what comes next. Shock rips through the silence, every head turning at the sudden shout, fear settling before anyone can react. Confusion settles as the rabbit appears again, eyes scanning the group, each person tense and unsure if this is reward or another test. Doubt breaks through the tension, one voice trembling as the meaning of survival mission hangs in the air, and the silence grows heavier. Tension hangs as the rabbit's voice cuts through, amused, calling the young man quick. A voice cuts in, cold and certain, ending all questions in the dark. 15 players stand frozen as the rabbit announces the level 2 mission, fear and disbelief tightening every breath. Shock ripples through the group as the words battle hit, every hope turning into fear in one instant. Rabbit grins, winks and points straight at the group. His words light, but the threat underneath feels sharp and unfair. Master steps forward, sword burning with light as the portal pulls darkness into the room, his voice steady but the threat grows heavier. Tension lingers, but control shifts as a playful voice cuts through, ready to set the rules that decide who survives. 16 players face 16 doppelgangers as the new mission begins, rules delivered with no room for protest. 32 stand divided, silent and watching, each side waiting for the other to move first. 6 sword-wielders stand over fallen bodies, breathing hard but undefeated, as the rabbit lifts a sign, coldly announcing, 2 conditions to clear. Shadows gather as a cold voice cuts through the silence, commanding every doppelganger's death without hesitation. Doppelgangers copy not just stats, but everything in your mind, making escape or trickery useless. Escape narrows because every memory is now shared, every move already known. Pressure rises as the pink figure leans in, voice curling with certainty, and declares the most important rule, rule number 3. No reward waits for any player who kills a doppelganger, only silence and suspicion. She swings first, blade crashing down through the glow, forcing him back midair. He cuts down the rival without mercy, cold eyes on the prize as a shadow looms behind him. Stats and gold flood in, but the feeling of being watched grows heavier. Pressure builds without warning, anger crackling in the empty space as unseen eyes close in. No one steps forward to help, but the white rabbit points ahead, voice steady. This mission is your one chance. Protest explodes from the shadows, voices raw with fear and outrage as the truth hits. This isn't a chance, it's a trap, and now survival means turning on each other, no matter who breaks first. Rules change again. Rabbit raises his hand, voice cold. Every half hour without a kill brings new punishment. Sudden energy bursts from the star-shaped object, purple lightning crackling, as everyone is forced into the lobby. No warning, just the promise of disaster. Purple lightning crashes down, ripping through the magic circle without mercy, rules shifting as power slams into the ground. No one sees who controls it, only that something stronger decides who lives and who falls next. Everyone freezes as a shadow spreads across the floor, tension thickens. Nobody understands what just changed, but fear is instant. Confusion cuts through the tension as someone struggles to understand his next move, fear rising with every second of uncertainty. Screams break out as a massive dark hand bursts from the ground, crackling with purple energy. People scatter in panic, already too slow. Lightning tears through the air, raw power surging without warning, impossible to block or escape. A sharp realization hits, shifting fear into something colder. Suspicion takes hold, and everything pauses on the edge of a new threat. Power crackles in the air as a dark demon appears, his level unknown, his presence impossible to measure. Lightning splits the sky, tension crackles between them as frustration boils over. One fist clenched tight while the others brace for what's coming. Urgent shouts break through as stands his ground, jaw set while others call for him to move, fear in their voices but defiance in his eyes. Purple energy surges as the attacker lunges, force and speed leaving no room to react. Shock ripples through the group, disbelief sharp in the air as someone realizes what they're up against.